Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping the manhwa, The Villain's Match is Too Perfect. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. It really helps the channel. Thanks. This is Princesa Yvon Argenthoz, a beautiful young lady, the youngest daughter of the famous Argenthoz family and a talented sorcerer. You might think a girl like Yvonne would be popular, with lots of friends and suitors lining up to take her hand. But that's not the case, because Yvonne is not the heroine of this story. She's the villain. That's right, a good old-fashioned, boy-crazy villain, who is currently on a date with a very handsome young duke named Roden Yales. While the whole cafe gossips about Yvonne's shameless manhunting, she smiles sweetly at the duke and asks him to lend her some money. Wow, if nothing else, you have to admire her nerve. Now that we've got an idea of Yvonne's character, let's wind back the clock to see how she ended up here. Though she's always been hated and scorned by the other nobles, Yvonne was born into so much wealth that all the finger-pointing and name-calling couldn't reach her. The soul currently residing in her body, however, had the exact opposite life. Always living paycheck to paycheck, she worked absurdly hard for very little reward. Until one day, she was hit by a truck and woke up as none other than Princesa Yvonne. Most girls would probably be upset if they were reborn as the villain and not the hero. But this girl was just happy to be in the lap of luxury, even if it was in a sickly body. Because that's Yvonne's place in this novel, a romance and fantasy story named Cordelia's Light, after the main character, Cordelia. Princesa Yvonne was born a weak woman, easily prone to disease. She fell in love with Adrian, a prince who got engaged to the protagonist, the illegitimate princess of the Kingdom of Mare. In the novel, Yvonne became so lovesick that she signed a pact with the devil to give her access to demonic powers, becoming a sorcerer of darkness. Her aim was to kill Cordelia, but in the end, the very pact that gave her power eventually took away her life. That's the old Yvonne, the original. This Yvonne has no interest in revenge, and certainly doesn't want to waste her second shot at life being envious of some prissy protagonist. In her old life, she was an orphan, slaving away to make a living. In this new one, she has everything she could ever dream of. As the youngest daughter of the Duke Argenthoz, the founder of the empire and one of the most powerful sorcerers in all the land, she's all set up for the perfect life. At this point in the story, Yvonne has yet to sign a pact with the devil, so as long as she avoids the male and female protagonists as much as possible, she should be able to stay out of trouble. Of course, there's still her father to contend with. Lord Kaiser Argenthoz is Lord of Wizards and runs his household exactly as strictly as you would expect. He's currently grounded Yvonne for something she did before this girl inherited her body. She used her magic to blow up a place that the protagonist had planned a date at. There were no victims, but still, if you wanted any proof that this girl really was a villain, look no further. Her father seems to think she's been having far too much fun for someone who's grounded, so he's extending her punishment. From now on, she will have to work 6 hours a day. For a princess, that would probably be hell, but for a girl from our world who used to work 15 hours a day, it's practically a joyride. And she does a great job too. With the kind of advanced admin techniques from the modern world, she has practically revolutionized her family's finances in a week. Her father is deeply suspicious. How did this lazy, cunning girl suddenly turn into a smart, hardworking member of the family? So he calls in her personal maid, Carol, to ask if she's noticed any changes in his daughter lately. Carol confirms his fears, that not only is his daughter working, but she also now cleans up after herself, eats less, and doesn't make a fuss when being scolded. Jeez, how bad was this girl before? Her father assumes that these drastic changes can only be the result of her love for Prince Adrian, and the public humiliation she has suffered because of his rejection. He finds himself feeling sympathetic for his daughter. After all, she's beautiful, talented, and from a very powerful family. Why should anyone turn her down? He gets himself so worked up about it that Yvonne arrives that morning to find him in a rage. At first, she's worried that she made some mistake with the paperwork he assigned her. The Lord Kaiser is shocked yet again to hear his daughter actually apologize for any potential mistakes, and quickly reassures her that everything was perfect. But it only gets weirder from there. Against everything he has ever known, the Duke's daughter apologizes for humiliating the family and promises to work harder to bring honor to their name in the future. It makes him so uncomfortable that he actually interrupts her speech. I guess it would be weird if someone this close to you suddenly had a personality transplant, especially if they were nasty and selfish before. Lord Argenthoz has decided she must be depressed, so he's bought out an empty property just for her and tells her to let off some steam by destroying it. Wait, what? These rich people are crazy. Clearly, Yvonne is thinking the same thing. She says that isn't necessary, which seems to be the final straw for her father. He blows up, letting his magic rage as he asks what that Prince Adrian did to make her act so out of character. Once he's calmed down, he tells his daughter to ask him for anything at all that would make her happy. And Yvonne asks, to study. Okay, girl, you lost me there. Never would that be my top wish in a fantasy world. No way! But Yvonne takes the opportunity to learn a bit more about the worlds she's been reborn into, and tries to figure out how to use these magical abilities her character is so famous for. She's interrupted by her brother, Yvon Argenthoz, who just so happens to be an assistant professor of magic at the Academy of Wizards. Oh, and he also hates her. Well, he used to. The new and improved Yvonne comes as a bit of a shock to him. She used to be so sly that he assumed her newfound love for admin and economics was proof that she was trying to take over his position as heir. But when his sister insists that she truly just wants to help their family, he is bowled over. He runs straight to their father, complaining about how much she's changed. The two men proceed to have a quiet moment to revel in her personality switch, especially since she's being sweet to both of them these days. Then they get back to their theories. The leading one is that Adrian broke her heart so badly that she's just totally gone mad. Her father decides it might be time to introduce her to someone else, a new man who will make her forget all about the prince. Enter the young Duke Rodin, that guy from the cafe in the beginning. Just like Yvonne, he has his own complicated past, with a twisted family history to boot. Rodin belongs to the Yales family, an ancient clan of knights that became indebted to the Argenthoz family after the sorcerers came to their aid in a critical battle against vicious monsters 18 years ago. Despite their camaraderie, the Duke Yales requested that the wizard keep his part in the battle a secret, so that history wouldn't know the knights had needed help from a sorcerer. In return, they forged an oath, promising to fulfill any request from the Argenthoz family. And after 18 long years, that oath has finally been called upon. Of all the men Duke Argenthoz could have chosen to one-up Prince Adrian, he picked Rodin Yales. Is that because only a man bound by the law would willingly go on a date with Yvonne? Yikes, I hope not. Rodin's butler is also very against the idea, but his master is a man of principle. His family made a promise, so he's going to stick to it. He sends his butler off for a new suit and makes preparations to return to the capital right away. Meanwhile, Yvonne is preparing with a little shopping trip for a new dress. She doesn't seem very excited, but maybe that's more to do with the gossiping townspeople. People don't bother to lower their voices as her carriage goes by, spreading rumors that if you look her in the eye, she'll cast a curse on you. Yeah, right. Don't worry, guys. She hasn't been able to cast so much as a spark so far. But once they're walking around the capital, her nerves begin to ease. It's pretty hard to stay worried in a place as gorgeous as this. She catches sight of the palace where the prince resides, and her father tries to block her view immediately. It's kind of cute that he's trying not to remind her of Adrian, even if it is completely unnecessary. Her father and brother order the finest clothes to be brought out in the boutique, wanting only the best for their little girl. With the boys showering her with compliments, it's hard to say no to any of the designs. After moving from store to store, they even start picking things out for her. I would kill to live her life. Imagine having a rich family practically throwing designer clothes at you. After their shopping extravaganza, they sit down for some afternoon tea. Yvonne thanks them for the clothes, but reminds them that she just wants to focus on her studies for now, so she plans to return at least half of those garments. Yvonne? Girl, what are you doing? Never say no to free clothes! Her excuse is that she doesn't have any occasion to wear them if she's just going to be studying, which is when the boys drop the bomb. That in 3 days' time, she'll be going on a date with an eligible young bachelor in this very cafe. When they tell her who this promising young man is, Yvonne is immediately suspicious. Why would a popular, well-known nobleman agree to a date with someone like her, considering her reputation? Barden and her father are quick to assure her that she is a perfect catch, and anyone would be lucky to have her. Aw, guys, they really are the sweetest. They're also both busy and soon rush off to attend to their duties, leaving Yvonne with one of the family guards. As soon as the Duke and his heir have left, he completely changes his tune, practically falling asleep on duty. Yvonne decides to play a little prank on him, whacking his arm and pretending a bee had landed on his jacket. But the guard falls to the ground in pain, claiming she is way stronger than she looks. Hang on, I thought she was meant to be sickly and weak. How come she made a night cry? And what is that big purple shadow growing on the ground beside her? Uh-oh, this can't be good. Yvonne is mega freaked out. She tries to stamp the shadow out, causing a great shriek from beneath her feet. Suddenly, a wicked face appears in the darkness and starts speaking to her. It calls her a great witch and says something foreboding about how this is the end. Why are they always so vague, these evil demons? What is the end? Before it can be any more specific, it suddenly vanishes. Yvonne asks the knight if he saw it too, but he just thinks she's trying to trick him again. Is it possible that Yvonne had already made a deal with the devil before she inherited this body? Because if she did, whoa, buddy, we are in trouble. Meanwhile, news of the Duke Yell's travel to the capital has reached the ears of the prince in his palace. Adrian of Bond Point, Crown Prince and Swordmaster of the Bond Point Empire, is very excited to meet the Duke. But he isn't stupid. He knows Rodin is only coming all this way to meet Yvonne. When Adrian asks about it, Barden gets very uncomfortable. He doesn't want to talk about his sister in front of the guy who supposedly broke her heart. It gets even more awkward when Adrian insists that she will never be able to get over someone like him. Ew! Get a grip, Adrian! Lucky for Barden, the prince's moment of self-love is interrupted when he spots a handprint marked on a nearby tree. He wants to take a sample and mentions it to Adrian. But when the prince turns to look, there's nothing there. Okay, something shady is definitely going on, and Yvonne knows it. That's why she's been reading through every book she can find to try to figure out who or what might be after her. That evening, she takes a look around Yvonne's bomb lab. That's right, she's such a typical villain that she even has an evil laboratory. Although, it looks pretty cute if you ask me. After some careful probing with Carol the maid, Yvonne discovers a certain drawer in her desk that she ordered no one to ever go near on pain of death. Clearly, something inside there is important, so Yvonne has no hesitations about reading the book she finds inside. But she can't open it. She tries the book beneath it and finds a page about magical amnesia remedies bookmarked. Magical amnesia. Does that mean Yvonne had lost her powers? Is that even possible? This whole time, she thought she couldn't access her powers because she wasn't truly Yvonne. But it turns out this is something she has been struggling with for some time now. Maybe it's because of that sickness we've heard so much about? Either way, the book suggests that there is a cure. She just needs to grind 1 kilogram of magical gemstones and drink it continuously as a tea. The only problem is that 1 gram of the magical stones goes for 10 million gold. That means 1 kilogram would cost 10 billion. Oh, what a relief. It's nothing too difficult. She just has to get her hands on a small fortune and then drink it. While Yvonne is freaking out about the cost of regaining her powers, the Duke is being fitted for his new date outfit. And boy, is he looking sleek. Seriously, I know Adrian is obsessed with himself or whatever, but if you ask me, this is the real hottie of the Empire. Anyway, back to our princesa. Yvonne has just found out that not only did the past Yvonne literally bomb a building, but she also sold off all of her properties and blew her money on a bunch of magical items. For such a prolific sorcerer, this girl really wasn't the brightest, was she? Yvonne is really freaking out. She has a bad enough reputation as it is. If word gets around that she's lost her powers, then her life really could be in danger. It's still playing on her mind during the date, where Rodin is trying his best to act like a gentleman. That's why Yvonne asks for money, because she's so desperate to get her magic back. To her surprise, Rodin doesn't get offended. He asks how much, and when she tells him she needs to borrow billions without interest, he whips out his pen and writes her a check. Holy heck, where did they find this guy? How could someone be so handsome and so generous? Yvonne is so shocked that she reaches across the table to stop him and ends up grabbing his hand. She tells him not to trust so easily. She could be a scammer for all he knows and run off with his money at once. The Duke thinks she's funny. He knows her family and he doesn't care about her reputation. And when she tells him to be wary of strange women, he says he wouldn't move a muscle if it was someone like her. Oh my god, she really struck gold with this one. Literally. Completely blown away by his kindness and overwhelmed by his charm, Yvonne abruptly announces her departure. He seems disappointed and asks to escort her home, but the princesa refuses. I have no idea why. I mean, look at those eyes! Who could say no to that? Reluctantly, Rodin agrees to let her go, but on one condition. From now on, they call each other by their first names. He takes her hand and kisses it, calling her his Princesa Yvonne. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Oh, wait. The poor girl is literally swooning. She can't do much more than smile and giggle, so she agrees to call him Rodin from now on. She's still thinking about him long after their date has ended. Though he has made her heart flutter, she knows she can never be with someone like him. Even if she could, she wouldn't want to ruin his good standing with her reputation. Sounds like BS to me. If her father has anything to say about it, those two will be married before you can say Prince Adrian. And speaking of the devil, the crown prince himself shows up. He tries to claim that she must have followed him here, even though he's the one who walked up to her. In the novel, Adrian was practically afraid of Yvonne. He avoided the colors purple and silver because they reminded him of her. But if this was how he acted, well, let's just say I can see why she became the villain. I'd probably make a pact with the devil too if it would stop him acting so smug. Yvonne tries to leave, but he suddenly grabs her hand. Clearly, he wants everyone nearby to see them talking, to fuel this narrative that she's the crazy ex who can't get over him. He even tries to wind her up, claiming she's trying to take the crown princess position by studying so hard and using the Duke of Yale's to make him jealous. Understandably, Yvonne is furious. She starts shaking and looks like she's about to snap, when suddenly, the man of the hour appears behind her. Duke Rodin shows up just in time, placing his coat over her shoulders to hide her shaking. Ugh, could this man get any more perfect? He introduces himself to the crown prince, though it's obvious he already knows who he is. Yvonne may be too kind for her own good, but she's not going to pass up this opportunity to humiliate Adrian. She grabs Rodin's arm and tells him they're on a date. They're going to go off and spend some time alone together, leaving him in front of all the gossiping nobles who are wondering what just happened. When they're finally alone together, she thanks him for stepping in. She also apologizes for getting him caught up in this whole mess, since she's embarrassed he was forced to meet her because of some age-old oath. The Duke looks deep into her eyes and suddenly takes a step forward, pulling her closer. Yvonne's heart must be racing a mile a minute. Somehow, she manages to keep her cool, while Rodin plucks a fallen leaf out of her hair. A classic trick, but it works every time. He sends her home in a carriage, still totally starstruck, and heads back to his own residence in the capital, where his butler aunt is waiting to give him a coffee with what looks like 1,000,000 sugars. Who would have guessed that the dark, brooding Duke had such a sweet tooth? You'll all be relieved to hear that he wasn't just putting it on for Yvonne's sake back there. He really was taken with her, especially her eyes. Out of nowhere, Rodin asks Aunt if he thinks he's handsome, which, like, duh. Don't ask me how, but for some reason after their encounter, the Duke believes that Yvonne doesn't find him attractive, even though she could hardly breathe in front of him and spent most of her time stuttering like a fool. I guess he must have been blinded by his own feelings. He's practically ready to propose already and hears wedding bells every time she calls his name. Clearly, he can't leave and return to the Northern Territories as planned. He decides to stick around for a while and tells Aunt to find out whatever he can about the princess's experience of their date. After all the drama by the fountain, Rodin forgot to give her the gift. He sends it on instead, absolutely delighting Yvonne when she discovers he has sent her one of the magical gems she needs to get her powers back. Of course, it's only one tiny gem, maybe 10 grams. But with the current market, it would be worth at least 20 million gold. If she didn't need magic so badly, that bracelet alone would have set her up for life. It's also a lovely gesture from a true gentleman, but Yvonne feels she can never be with someone like Rodin because she doesn't deserve him. I'm sure we all want to yell at the screen right now, but luckily, there are two strapping men to do it for us. Lord Kaiser and Barden storm into Yvonne's room after hearing the news of the date. They are relieved to see that she doesn't look too shaken up after her encounter with the Crown Prince, and aggressively remind her that any man would be lucky to have her, not the other way around. Yvonne is very grateful for their compliments and promises not to speak about herself that way again. And just while they're feeling sorry for her, she uses the opportunity to ask for some money so that she can start her own business. This sounds a lot more like the Yvonne they remember, but she swears to only take a formal loan from the head of the family, promising to pay all the interest required. And she only wants 10 million gold to start with. It may sound like a lot to us, but that's nearly nothing for a member of the Argenthoz household. Her father agrees immediately, delighted that his daughter will have a chance to learn more about business. That evening, the anti-Adrian hate club regrouped to discuss Yvonne's date in more detail. She hasn't actually said much about how it went, so they're hesitant to set up another meeting with Duke Yales. They're also hella mad about the Crown Prince. Although he's in a position of great power at the moment, it's not cemented. You see, the current Empress accepted him as her adopted son, and that's how he became the heir. But the rules of inheritance shake and shift at any time, and it looks like Lord Argenthoz is planning one heck of a push. Although, it's kind of twisted. He thinks that if Adrian was no longer the Crown Prince, he would have no reason not to date Yvonne. And since both of them are certain that she can't get over him, they think the best solution would be getting them together. Oh no, these guys are idiots! Just throw her back with tall, dark, and handsome. They'll be married in no time. Of course, there's another reason those two want to interfere with the imperial family. The arrival of Cordelia in the Empire was quite suspicious. She practically brought Adrian back to life on the battlefield with the kind of magic people hardly thought possible. Since she's queued up to be Crown Princess, Barden agrees to launch a subtle investigation into her background. Oh dear. I know these guys mean well, but they're doing all the things Yvonne has worked so hard to avoid. Trying to get Adrian to date her and messing with the protagonists. The next day, 2 letters arrive for Yvonne. One is from the Crown Prince, the other is from Duke Yales. Great. I wonder if the prince is writing to complain or if they somehow made him jealous. Yvonne's head is already spinning, so she decides to open the Duke's letter first. She's expecting a complaint, maybe a request for her to return his gift. But to her surprise, Rodin has written a heartfelt love letter expressing his affections. He writes about how beautiful she looked and how much fun he had that day. Wait, really? She asked him for a loan and then took off. Is that this guy's idea of fun? He invites her to attend an opera tomorrow so that they can get to know each other better. Carol is delighted, but her mistress is already preparing to refuse. In her mind, there could be a million reasons why he asked her on a second date, most of which have something to do with feeling indebted to her father. I have no idea why she's so hell-bent on refusing this wonderful, handsome man. But so far, she won't be convinced. Next is Adrian's letter, which includes an invite and a threat. The invite was to Cordelia's tea party. The threat was to ensure she never use magic again. It seems he's worried about another bomb being dropped on his next date spot. Yvonne is furious that he would even have the nerve to make demands after everything he's done, and asks for a pen and paper to write her response. On the day of the tea party, Adrian is distracted. So far, Yvonne is a no-show, which is a surprise to no one except him. The guests ask about the story of the battlefield when Cordelia saved his life with her healing magic. After they're done kissing the butts of the Crown Prince and Princess, the conversation turns to Yvonne and her blind date with Duke Yales. For once, they're not gossiping about how nasty Yvonne is. Actually, it sounds more like they're jealous, especially since word has got out that he's staying in the capital just to see her. Adrian is visibly uncomfortable to hear her name, so Cordelia changes the subject. They move on to talking about skincare, of all things, while Adrian just sits there brooding like a big baby. Honestly, how did Yvonne ever fall in love with someone like him? Well, it doesn't matter now, since she's swapped men for money. While they're having tea and talking face masks, Yvonne has invested in Rhodea, an herb used to reduce fever. It is also the cure to a disgusting skin disease that is going to break out later in the novel. It's a good thing Yvonne remembered the name. Not only will she make a lot of money, but her reputation with the nobles will also improve. But in order to turn something readily available into a high-quality product, she'll need good packaging. So she heads into town to start building her cosmetics brand and runs into, you guessed it, the Duke. A true gentleman always has perfect timing. The passing citizens notice him immediately, making comments about how cool and handsome he looks. It makes Yvonne feel proud to be seen with him, even if it was just a coincidence. She's already drowning in his eyes before she realizes he's saying something. When she tunes back in, Roden is saying how pleasantly surprised he was to bump into her, even though she rejected his offer for a second date. She did? Yvonne, honey, get it together! There is a beautiful and very rich man vying for your attention. What's there to question? To add to the ever-mounting pile of excuses she keeps making to not date the Duke, Yvonne has lately been racking her brains to remember his character in the novel. Roden is rarely described and not seen very often, which leaves his personality a bit of a question mark. Although he has a good reputation among the other characters, she wants to be cautious in case he has something up his sleeve. I guess that sounds reasonable, especially while she's trying to keep her magical amnesia a secret. The Duke asks to accompany her on her errands, but Yvonne politely suggests he find someone more familiar with the city if he wants to look around. But in the end, he convinces her by acting all mopey and cute, so they take a walk around town. He asks if she likes shopping, and Yvonne lies and says no. He starts to think he picked the wrong gift until she reassures him that the bracelet was beautiful and made her very happy. He starts asking lots of questions while they explore, sprinkling in the odd compliment in between. The poor girl is having a hard time trying to keep her emotions under control, so she just stays quiet and nods, trying not to give away how fast her heart is racing. Before long, they bump into two of the Duke's acquaintances, Viscountess Francia and her daughter. She's obviously trying to make an introduction to get Roden's attention, but he's not interested. He basically brushes them aside, obviously far more interested in Yvonne. Ugh, I don't get it! How can she resist someone this charming? If it were me, I'd have given in the moment they met. But Yvonne just keeps adding to the excuse train, and suddenly, she remembers something from the book that provides an ulterior motive for the Duke's attentive attitude. You see, there's a secret research organization in the Empire. They conduct secret investigations into private matters that can't be announced to the public, and has a close connection to one of our 4 founding families, though no one knows which. But if the Yale's family were responsible for that organization, it might clear up some questions. Her theory is that her father set up the meeting, but the Duke has only persisted in their communication for the sake of gaining intelligence on Yvonne, a potentially dangerous member of the Empire. It sounds kind of paranoid if you ask me, but it's not so far from the original plot. When Yvonne grew more and more evil, the Crown Prince had her secretly watched. So in her mind, there's a chance, however small, that Roden is in on this plot and is trying to get close so he can influence her actions. Wow. Is it just me, or is she starting to sound a little crazy? I mean, come on. Doesn't a Duke have better things to do with his time than play spy? As we know by now, Yvonne is nothing if not stubborn. She decides to take this opportunity to prove she's not dangerous and leads Roden to a cosmetic store to help her pick products. They end up at a very fancy shop that only serves nobles. Thinking they might have what she's after, Yvonne asks the owner to explain a few of their items, looking for anything with herbs or a sign of quality in the products. The owner is very proud of her stock and insanely knowledgeable about every item they carry. So Yvonne decides this is the place. They'll be her best shot at turning Rhodea herbs into her own line of cosmetics. The Duke is watching all of this with great interest but doesn't say a word. She invites him over and asks for his hand, spreading a bit of moisturizer on his skin. Kind of a weird thing to do on the second date, but Roden is so obsessed with her that he doesn't seem to care. In fact, he's kind of zoned out. Yvonne was so busy admiring his hand that she hardly noticed. Thinking she's offended him, she suddenly apologizes, saying she just wanted to return the favor for his gift. Before he can even say a word, she tries to run out of the store, too embarrassed to stay a minute longer. He catches her just before the door and makes some rambly excuse about how swordsmen should take care of their hands. Yeah, okay, Prince Charming. It's all right to just admit it was a little creepy. Back at the Green Palace, the Crown Prince hasn't stopped thinking about Yvonne. It's like they've switched places. This time around, Adrian is the one obsessed with her. So he's not a happy bunny when he overhears his guests gossiping about her second date with the Duke. Despite everything he's said up until now, Adrian is definitely attracted to Yvonne. He's so delusional that he thinks this whole situation is one big plot to make him jealous. Sheesh, how stupid can you get? Poor Cordelia is left behind, wondering what's gotten into him. According to the story, the prince rejects Yvonne, so why is he acting like a lovesick puppy? Instead of being dejected, Cordelia is determined to win him back. In order to do that, she wants to make him jealous with Yvon Argenthoz of all people, the very man who is currently investigating her. Interesting. I wonder if he'll go along with it. On the other side of town, the date is wrapping up, with Yvonne having gifted Rodin one of the creams as a present. He's making a big effort to show her his appreciation, showing more interest in a hand cream than any man in history. Aw, isn't he the sweetest? Then they come to a halt. The Duke is about to ask her something when suddenly someone screams Yvonne's name from across the street. Yvon arrives in a huff, shoving himself in between the lovebirds. He whispers to Yvonne that rumors of their date have already spread through half the city, including the Imperial Palace. He makes a polite introduction to the Duke, who points out that they've already met and even compliments his good looks. Well, that's certainly thrown him off guard. Rodin even invites Yvon and his sister to have dinner at his lodgings, but the young Duke flat out refuses and even gives the Duke a little talking to. He is proud of his sister for pulling herself together and starting a new life, and doesn't want Rodin to come in and mess that all up. After all, she said she wasn't interested in dating. Oh, Yvon, always right on time to ruin a perfectly good thing. The poor Duke is absolutely heartbroken. Yes, she refused him on a second date, but they've just spent the whole day together and had a lovely time. Look at his little face. When he gets back to his estate, he's all sulky. He asks Aunt how to woo a woman who doesn't want money, luxuries, or even a boyfriend. Although, I think he just answered his own question. But he has a reason to be confused. After all, she gave him a gift and spent time with him, but now she's not interested? Aunt thinks she's been messing him around on purpose, keeping him hooked so she can toy with him. Now the Duke thinks he's just being strung along, one of many that she has her eye on. And though that couldn't be farther from the truth, he quickly decides he doesn't care. As far as he can see, the biggest obstacle to their relationship is the Crown Prince. To remove that obstacle, he decides to get in touch with the mysterious third prince, who we've heard almost nothing about so far. Back at the Argenthoz household, Yvonne is giving Yvon an earful for butting in where he wasn't needed. It might seem like he's a blundering idiot, but he's just being a typical big brother. After the whole fiasco with Adrian, it's no surprise he's going to get protective when a new man enters her life. He is pondering all of this in the bath that evening when he suddenly remembers a certain artifact he procured from the Green Palace for investigating. It looks like it has the same gem as the bracelet Rodin gave his sister. But when Yvon triggers the gem, a horrifying centipede creature suddenly appears. Before Yvon even notices it, the centipede has tripled in size. It's almost as tall as the ceiling and tries to attack him right away. He screams, dropping the bracelet while his mind races for solutions. It seems like some kind of demon. The strange fog around its body looks like dark magic. It's a good thing this guy is such an accomplished wizard, or else that centipede would have had him for dinner. Instead, he wards it off with a protective spell, trying to tell if it's being controlled by someone else. Clearly, this was a planned attack. Any dark magic would have been sensed by the Argenthoz guards by now. Since they haven't arrived, Yvon can assume magic is being used to prevent any external contact. Is this perhaps the work of the same devilish shadow that went after his sister? Unaware of the giant insect battle going on a few doors down, Yvonne is in her own room being taken care of by Carol. When they hear Yvon scream, they run to his room right away. Carol goes to get some help, while Yvonne walks in alone to find her brother fending off the monster with his magic. Hey bestie? It's very sweet of you to want to look after your brother, but have you forgotten the whole magical amnesia thing? I don't think that's a room you want to be in. When Yvon notices her, he tells her to use some offensive magic. Of course, she can't do a thing except stand there and nearly get sprayed by poisonous gunk. He manages to protect them both, but it isn't long before his shield breaks. He's running out of magic and he can't beat this thing alone, but the paralyzing poison has got them both stiff and hardly able to move. It looks like Yvon is about to be insect food. But at the last possible moment, Yvonne grabs the bracelet, throwing it with all her might towards the demon. It doesn't look particularly heavy, but somehow that hit alone is enough to make the demon pass out, dropping to the floor and relinquishing Yvon. Maybe the bracelet had some kind of repellent? Otherwise, I have no idea how a hit that light managed to take down a thing that big. It doesn't make any sense, which is exactly what the demon's master is thinking at that very moment from behind her crystal ball. Who would have guessed that little old Cordelia was responsible for an attack like this? Oh, and guess what? She sent the shadow to watch over Yvonne as well. The heroine truly has become the villain. The monster is dead, but it seems the attack took a toll on her too. The demon was a high-level Colin and shouldn't have been killed just with a bracelet. She's also confused as to how Yvonne heard the commotion from outside, since there were spells in place to block any sound from escaping. Looks like Cordelia's focus has once again switched to Yvonne. I'm sure there's only more trouble up ahead for our girl. The Argenthoz siblings manage to contain what's left of the demon in a small magical sphere, which they bring to their father. He confirms that this beast is the work of a very dark wizard and is shocked to hear that it managed to get inside the mansion. The windows were locked, and besides, I'm not sure something that size could have just slipped in. That means it must have already been inside the estate before the attack. Barden thinks he could have picked it up from a battlefield, but his father says that's not the case. This kind of creature can only be wielded by a powerful black wizard, who has to contract their own life as a guarantee. That means if the creature died, so does the wizard. Since they're closely connected, the wizard also cannot go far from their demon, so whoever is responsible for this mess must be here in the capital. Which is not good news. Dark wizards are those who make a contract with the literal devil, like Yvonne would have if the original plot had played out. They incite chaos and bring in vicious monsters to cause war and violence. The Empire has strict regulations over information about black magic and harshly punishes any who are found to be using it. The idea that one has made their way into the city undetected is troubling, to say the least. So the Duke orders his children to keep his attack secret while he steps up their security and launches an investigation. He asks how they managed to kill the demon, at which point Barden reveals the bent and broken bracelet from before. Whoa, if Yvonne can literally bend metal, then she's a lot stronger than we thought. And her dad is just as shocked. He asks why she didn't just use her magical powers, and Yvonne hesitates. Maybe if she told them the truth, they would help her buy all the gems in the world and she could get rid of her magical amnesia ASAP. Or maybe they will be suspicious and start doubting her change of heart because she kept this huge secret. Before she even has to make a decision, Barden speaks for her. Since he was in the grip of the demon, it would have been dangerous to use a magical attack and could have hurt them both. Now, that's obviously not true. There was plenty of time to hit the beast before Barden was grabbed, but maybe he thinks she's embarrassed for stalling in front of her first demon. Kind of sweet that he's covering for her. Her father is also touched. Yvonne's strength reminds him of her mother Camilla, who so far we've heard nothing about. The kids immediately perk up upon hearing her name, so the Duke goes deeper. Their mother was a knight with incredible power. In fact, they fell in love after Argenthoz saw her beating up a brown bear with her bare hands. Well, I guess that explains her super strength. After that blast from the past, Barden tells his father that Duke Yells has been persistently flirting with Yvonne and making her uncomfortable. He says the rumors of their dating are everywhere. He was even interrupted in his own classroom by people talking about it. And just as you'd expect, her father is furious. He tells Yvonne to let him know the second he tries it again. The Duke will sort him out, all right. Poor Yvonne has barely been able to get a word in or explain her side of the matter. Even if she could, the opportunity slips by when a servant announced that a visitor has arrived for the princess. This is literally the first time anyone has come to drop in on Yvonne, so you can see why her brother and father would be so surprised. But this isn't one of the members of her complex love triangle. In fact, the visitor in question is Cordelia, the very same dark wizard they were discussing just moments ago. Wow, you'd have to be pretty bold just to walk right into the Argenthoz estate after that. And it looks like she's brought something with her. Of course, Yvonne has no way of knowing that Cordelia has taken her place as the villain of the story. As a fan of the original novel, she looks at this girl and sees a pure heart and warm soul. Oh, how little she knows. She's trying to rack her brains as to why Cordelia would come and visit Yvonne. Nothing like this happened in the book, so why is she turned up? Cordelia starts by acting polite and innocent, thanking her host for accepting her visit, even though Yvonne has been known to hate her. Of course, that was the old, crazy Yvonne. This new model just tells her calmly that she has no reason to hate Cordelia anymore. For some reason, Cordelia takes that as a sign that Yvonne feels confident she can win back Adrian and starts crying. It turns out, all this is just a smokescreen. The real reason the protagonist is here is to scope out her enemy, to see if they suspect her, and to dispose of the bracelet if possible. In order to do that, she needs to act like the weepy, pathetic girl who only cares about her boyfriend. It's a clever plan, but man, is it annoying! She goes on this whole rant about her relationship with Duke Yales and how it can only be an attempt to get the attention of the prince. I guess it does look suspicious that they kept meeting in the capital, so near the Imperial Palace, but that was all an accident. Barden and Argenthoz, who are listening at the door, are getting angry on her behalf. Her dad is so furious he can hardly contain himself, so his son distracts him with some news. This mysterious third prince they've been attempting to reach has refused a meeting with the Duke, supposedly due to ill health. Though from a brief scene with the man of the hour, it's clear that's not the case. He refused both Yales and Argenthoz, who were attempting to contact him. Though why he wants to stay in solitude is unexplained. The third prince is none other than Felix Dilk Burbent, a sage-like man who lives with his aged mother in a green, luxurious palace of his own. 18 years ago, the Empress Giselle lost her 2 sons and had no other successor. She adopted Adrian, son of a concubine, to become the crown prince, causing outrage at the time. Although Adrian was a popular choice, he was only 4. Meanwhile, Felix was a bright young boy with good morals and a mother from a noble family. It was a big shock that he was pushed aside, so the nobles who supported Felix raised a protest with the emperor. But his mind could not be changed. In an attempt to secure her own position, the Empress even went so far as to order Felix to take a secret medicine that he couldn't tell anyone about. He was smart enough to know what kind of potion was in that bottle, but he took it anyway, thinking that his mother would have a better life without him. Whoa, that's some dark stuff for a kid. In the end, there was nothing in the potion but water. That's because his mother had already taken the poison in the hopes that her son would never touch it. She survived the poison, but it took a big toll on her system and she began to mentally degenerate. That must be why he refuses to get involved with court politics. He has to protect his mother and the peaceful life they have together. Talk about a tragic backstory. Over in the Magic Tower, the Duke Argenthoz knows that the prince's health is obviously an excuse. He also knows the prince would do just about anything to avoid appearing before the Empress. But that doesn't make it any less irritating that he wants to ignore reality and stay hidden in his little hole. These are the Duke's thoughts as he's walking through the lobby. He's so focused that he ends up bumping into Duke Yales from behind. Roden is polite and courteous as always, but his frequent compliments make Argenthoz wary. A smooth talker like this was a dangerous person to let into his daughter's life. As it turns out, Roden Yales, the ultimate swordmaster, has come to the Magic Tower to find a teacher, since magic would only improve his skills on the battlefield. Seeing a man from such a prestigious family of knights take an interest in magic quickly changes the Duke's opinion of Roden. Despite himself, he ends up kind of liking the kid, especially after lots of compliments about his daughter. The deal is sealed when Roden expresses the same hatred that the Duke has for the Crown Prince, who broke Yvonne's heart. They walk off whispering together like schoolgirls. I love how this man can win anyone over. This guy was cursing his name not 2 chapters ago. Before he even knows what's happening, the Duke has made a friend with Roden and even invited him around for dinner. Yay! That gives him another chance to woo Yvonne, which was probably his plan all along. Back at the Argenthoz estate, Cordelia is becoming suspicious of this new Yvonne, who doesn't lash out or act like a spoiled brat. She hasn't risen to any of the princess's taunts and continues to smile and act polite throughout their whole conversation. It makes Cordelia all the more certain that Yvonne is dangerous. If she can act this calm in front of her enemy, then she must be plotting something. Frustrated, Cordelia is the one who ends up having an outburst. She outright accuses Yvonne of trying to steal Adrian and calls her a wicked woman who has disgraced herself by using a handsome duke with a good reputation and dragging him down for her own evil intent. Okay, go off, I guess. She's hoping that Yvonne will take the bait and run wild, destroying herself so that Cordelia doesn't have to. But instead of releasing a torrent of fire or using her magic to attack the protagonist, the Princess Argentrose calmly takes a bite of a cherry and tells Cordelia she has nothing to worry about. Pouring herself a cup of tea, she suggests that if she's worried about His Highness being swayed, she should speak to him instead. Boom. Mic drop. Look at that shocked face! Cordelia doesn't know what to say. Before she can cause any more drama, Barden butts in and firmly tells the princess to leave. Cordelia swallows her pride. Clearly, she's not going to be able to accomplish what she hoped, so she apologizes for yelling at Yvonne and switches tactics. She turns to the box she brought, explaining that a maid gave it to her. It's a present from Adrian, but it wasn't meant for Cordelia. It was meant for Yvonne. She leaves it behind, excusing herself with another apology and walking right out. The Argenthoz siblings are straight up confused by her actions. The heroine did one thing right. She successfully convinced them both that she's nothing more than a crazy lovesick girl. They have no idea that she's really the dark wizard who attacked them just last night. Barden congratulates his sister on not popping off the way she used to. She jokes that it was all because she knew he was listening outside the door and didn't want him to blow a fuse. He offers to throw the present straight away, but Yvonne says she'll take care of it. Oh, I really hope she's not stupid enough to open it. Barden was right. That box belongs in the bin. On the way back to the palace, Cordelia is sitting in her carriage when she summons Pembe, one of the shadow spirits that calls to her. It is this little creature who is charged with finding the bracelet from the demon attack. Cordelia tells Pembe to keep an eye on it and to get rid of it when he finds an opportunity. Any earlier than that, and it will be easy to connect its disappearance with her and will raise their suspicions. So that takes care of the bracelet. Now, what about Yvonne? Cordelia didn't believe the rumors that she'd changed, but after today, it's clear she's done a total 180. You could almost say she's a different person. It makes her plan a little more shaky. Perhaps if this new Yvonne is too calm, she won't use the gift in the box, the so-called Fountain of the Sun. You might be expecting some awful paralyzing poison, but this is more subtle than that. It was originally made to give nobles glowing, beautiful skin, but if it's used too often, it causes a hideous skin disease. Wait, is this the disease Yvonne remembered from the novel? The one that Cordelia is supposed to solve? Does this mean she actually caused it? This girl isn't acting like a protagonist at all. Pembe can tell she's frustrated and offers an alternative. While he was sneaking around, he picked up on a black magic aura from Yvonne. If she's a dark wizard, then that would explain why she heard the demon before anyone else. It also gives Cordelia another option. Just accuse her enemy of practicing black magic, and the Imperial family will take care of the rest. But I thought Yvonne hadn't turned into a dark wizard yet. Has she already made a pact with the devil at this point? I'm getting so confused. Anyway, moving away from that evil little girl, the next visitor to the Argenthoz household is Roden Yales. Ever the gentleman, he's even brought a bouquet. Before entering the estate, he pauses, watching Yvonne slam open a window from above. She throws out an earring, the one she gave her maid Carol. You know, the one that's secretly a bomb? What the heck is going on? This is total chaos. 15 minutes before his arrival, Yvonne had opened the gift to discover the Fountain of the Sun lotion. Carol notices the bottle and mentions that it's very expensive, about 10 million gold just for one, because apparently everything in this world costs exactly 10 million gold. Instead of throwing it away, she decides to sell it. But while Carol is convincing her to put it to use, Yvonne notices that one of her earrings has lit up bright red. Uh-oh. Without thinking, Yvonne grabs it, pulling it off her ear and sprinting to the window. She wasn't expecting anyone to be in the garden. But as the earrings sailed down through the air, time seemed to slow and suddenly she saw the Duke. And the next moment, everything was on fire. When the smoke cleared, Yvonne ran to look for Roden and saw only singed flower petals. Beneath them was the Duke, perfectly unharmed, standing with his sword and a protective shield around him. Well, I'm very glad he's safe, but girl, you've got some serious explaining to do. Unable to look at his sad little face, she stumbles away from the window to check that Carol is okay. She asks her to summon some servants to clear up the mess, while she sprints downstairs to fix things with Roden. Not only does she not want to hurt his feelings, but she still thinks he's an investigator, remember? If he was part of an organization trying to find out if she's a threat to society, then she just did about the worst thing possible. Almost the entire household staff are gathered outside by the front doors. Somehow, the damage is pretty minimal, despite the scale of the explosion. Apparently, the Duke used his aura to absorb the explosion. There's a small crowd of people around him, all trying to check that he's okay. He makes eye contact with Yvonne and still manages a smile. Even though from his perspective, it looks like she just tried to blow him up. Okay, that's too loyal for your own good. Shouldn't he be mad? She asks if he's okay and takes the very burnt flowers, politely pretending to love them just the way they are. Yales explains that he was invited for dinner by her father, which is a surprise in itself. He's also very early, which only makes Yvonne more suspicious of his real intentions. At this point, I can't blame her. That man just survived an assassination attempt and is still head over heels for this girl. I'd be suspicious too. He even covered for her in front of the head of security, claiming that there were no witnesses and he didn't see what happened. Yeah, right. Acting like it was all just a little mishap, they brushed it under the carpet. Yvonne leads him up to her guest room and thanks him for staying quiet. She also apologizes and explains what really happened, how it was all a very unfortunate accident. But Rodin gets snagged on one little detail. Why didn't she use a magical defense after she threw it? While she's panicking, wondering how to answer an investigator, the Duke walks up to her and asks her right out. Was she trying to kill him? Oh geez. Here we go. She's still scrambling to come up with an answer when the Duke finds one for her. He thinks she was testing him. It turns out he did a lot of research after developing a crush and learned all about her proclivity for drama and bombs. He saw the bomb as a chance to prove himself that he could handle her and also prove his swordsmanship. Wow, he's so much more delusional than we thought. Yvonne rightly thinks he's a bit insane, so she invites him to sit down so they can talk it out. He explains his theory and how he thought it was a similar situation to when the old Yvonne threw a bomb at Cordelia and the Crown Prince protected her. While his rationale is crazy, hers is even worse. She still thinks this is all about investigating her for dark magic, so she goes along with it and admits it was all a test. Insane. Oh my god, everything would just be so much easier if she told him the truth. She asks him not to pass this on to the Crown Prince, since in her mind, that's who he's reporting to. Of course, Rodin isn't happy to hear Adrian's name come up in conversation, since he's basically the ex, but he agrees to keep it quiet anyway. He's even salvaged the remains of the earring so that there would be no evidence for the others to find. He also offers to take care of the captain of security, who is doing a thorough job at investigating. Now, I don't know what take care of means up north, but that sounds pretty damn concerning to me. Actually, he just meant that they should close up the investigation as soon as possible so as not to raise any more suspicion. He brought an artifact from his own estate used for communication and crushes it up in his palm. That way, it looks like he was the one who accidentally brought an explosive device to the manor. And no one is going to arrest the Duke. But he does want a little something in return. Leaning in close, he asks Yvonne if she could do him a favor. Barden returns to the palace after the dust has settled, shocked to discover that a bomb went off while he was away. He's informed by the head guard that the investigation is finished and the case will be closed. Since Duke Yales took the blame, everything can be wrapped up neatly. Unfortunately, there's no bad blood. The Duke and Princess are currently taking a walk in the gardens as if nothing ever happened. Apparently, that's far more frightening than the idea of an explosion. At least, to Barden it is. He immediately storms off to interrupt the happy couple who are blissfully unaware of what's heading their way. Rodin is assuring her that there's no need to worry about the investigation, so now Yvonne agrees to do whatever he wanted in return. Of course, she hasn't actually heard what that is yet. She just blindly agreed so that he would take the blame and clean up her mess. When will she learn? Yales is surprised that she's not more concerned about what kind of favor he'll ask for. But he doesn't want money or any great declarations of love. He just wants her to call him Rod from now on. I mean, it's a cute idea, but Rod? Really? Yvonne doesn't really get the big deal, so she happily agrees to use his nickname from now on. Somehow, she still hasn't figured out his intentions and genuinely believes he doesn't think of her romantically. For a smart girl, she really can be thick sometimes. The first time she uses his name, the Duke blushes bright red. It's right after that intimate moment that Barden comes running up to them, shaking with the effort. He briefly checks if the Duke is unharmed from the explosion and then tries to steal his sister away to talk in private. Rodin announces that he also has an important matter to discuss with him, so Yvonne goes back to the mansion to give them some space. The second she leaves, Barden is singing the same old tune, telling the Duke to stay away from his sister. Charming as always, the Duke assures him that he has no intention of harming the princess and tells him to relax. It's kind of hard for Barden to stick to his guns after that. I mean, could you say no to that smile? I know I couldn't. With Barden disarmed, the Duke makes his next move, trying to win over his love interest's brother by flattering his incredible magical abilities. Well, he managed to get the dad on his side, so I guess now anything is possible. By the time everyone sits down for dinner, the boys are all acting like besties. The Duke can talk all day and night about serious political and magical issues, so he's immediately in both their good books. Unfortunately, that leaves Yvonne feeling a little left out. She can hear the servants chattering about how pleased they are to see the whole family having dinner together, and what a good couple they make. When she first arrived in a stunning dress, Roden stood up and called her beautiful, but since then he hasn't said a word to her. That's not much of a surprise. The real surprise is that Yvonne feels a little bitter. They're not a couple, so why should she be upset? A few minutes later, both her father and brother are drunk. Yvonne is a little mad, so she heads off by herself, leaving Roden to deal with the mess he made. As she should. She heads out to the gardens, where she is met by a maid with blue hair who usually assists Carol. She introduces herself as Udel Roganel, and she wants to ask a favor. Shaking, she begs the princess to sell her the Fountain of the Sun lotion that she received from Cordelia. Her sister has been suffering from a skin disease for some time, and she heard that the Fountain of the Sun could heal her. The maid is literally shaking and crying as she begs her for the lotion. How the heck is Yvonne supposed to explain that it would actually do her sister more harm than good? It's just going to make her look evil. Instead of promising to hand it over, Yvonne wipes her tears and asks the girl to bring her sister to see her. What is she planning to do? All of this has set her head spinning. There was no mention of this in the original novel. The Fountain of the Sun was never said to cure any kind of disease. Is this maybe a business tactic to try and sell more? The maid is curious and probably a little scared about why she wants to see her sister. Yvonne knows the Roganel family. They're an aristocratic house who had to endure a lot after the new successor took over and kicked out all the daughters of his predecessor. Based on that information, Yvonne can assume Udel is one of those daughters, and so her sister is the one who was supposed to inherit the head of the family. She even took the successor class to prepare herself. Udel confirms her suspicions. They were kicked out, and now they live with their mother in town. If her sister was preparing to take over the family, then she must be pretty smart, so Yvonne wants her help. She offers to pay her sister for assisting her with a private matter, and if she agrees, Yvonne will give them the Fountain of the Sun. This is more than poor Udel could have hoped for, so of course she agrees to bring her sister to the estate the very next morning. Back in the dining hall, the drunkards are finally coming to their senses. The Duke excuses himself and is practically carried to bed, leaving Barden and Roden to continue their earlier conversation. All of those compliments were actually leading to a request. Roden wants Barden to become his magic teacher. Barden agrees, but only if he doesn't hurt Yvonne. The Duke is a bit offended that he even thinks he would do such a thing, but the young Argenthoz is just trying to be careful. Yvonne gives her heart away more easily than you might think. The only reason she fell in love with the prince was because she said he was bright and handsome. That's all it took to spark a years-long romantic entanglement and several explosive attacks. Barden tells him firmly not to get close to his sister unless his intentions are serious. He says it's lucky that she doesn't have feelings for him yet, which is news to the Duke. When he asks the young man to explain, Barden says he overheard her talking about a present Roden gave her, saying she should grind it up. Oh no, she did say that, but only because it contained a magical gem. Clearly, Roden is hurt. He spends the rest of the night going through the Duke's wine collection and drinking until the early hours of the morning. He's still thinking about what Barden said, trying to sift through his memories. Did Yvonne really hate that bracelet? Does she really have no interest in him? Now that he's thinking back, she has always been very polite and cautious in front of him. Was that because she was secretly uncomfortable? Well, yes, but not for the reason he's thinking. In a flashback, we see Roden and his butler Ant sparring. Roden announces firmly that he has decided to start learning magic, even though it's against the family policy. But then again, he's the Duke. He can do whatever the heck he wants. To make a point, he attacked Ant using magic and almost slices his head off with nothing but his hand. Who wouldn't want that kind of power? Plus, learning from Barden will keep him close to Yvonne, so it's a double win. Roden's right-hand man was really surprised to see him making such an effort for her. In the past, he's never been swayed by beautiful girls, so it seems like something's got into him these days. Maybe even a spell? The Duke thought that was ridiculous, but according to Aunt, there are a lot of rumors that Yvonne is using him to get back at Prince Adrian. He begged his lord to be a little more cautious in future, but let's be honest, this man is already too far gone for caution. Back to the present, we see Yvonne finishing her walk in the garden after trying to collect her thoughts. On her way to bed, she stumbled across Duke Yales, slumped rather defeatedly against a pillar. She was so surprised that she screamed. I probably would have too if the Duke looked at me like that. Drunkenly, he reminds her to use his nickname, absolutely setting her heart on fire. For some reason, he's just super adorable when he's drunk. He gets up carefully and apologizes for acting so shamefully, but Yvonne doesn't mind one bit. All she can think about is wanting to take pictures of his adorable face. Honestly, this girl is such a mood. He asks her straight out whether she really liked his present or not, and mentions the whole grinding thing that Barden overheard. Flustered, she tries to explain that it's a misunderstanding and insists she really did like the present. You can't blame him for being a little suspicious, but Yvonne can't exactly explain her magical amnesia, not without setting off a whole new chain of problems anyway. But she can't stand making him feel bad. She's about to confess the truth to him when he suddenly silences her. He's got the sense that someone is watching them, which is kind of creepy. Does he have some spidey sense or something? He thought he saw someone in the window and is about to storm off and check, but Yvonne suddenly stops him and spins him around, literally pinning him against the wall. A little flustered, she tells him to calm down, promising to send security instead. Rodin is about to reach out, but he stops himself and quietly accepts. After the tension has faded, Yvonne suddenly realizes the position they're in and freaks out. She apologizes for being so rude, but let's be real, Rodin didn't mind one bit. If anything, he's impressed by how strong she is. He even invites her to do it again. Suddenly, remembering how he cut her off, he invites Yvonne to finish what she was trying to say earlier. Flashing her puppy eyes at him, Yvonne asks him never to tell anyone else what she's about to confess. But before she can say anything else, the Duke warns her to be careful while they're being watched. He also tells her not to speak unless she really wants to, but Yvonne really does want to. Since this isn't the right place, she invites him to stay the night, which I'm sure the Duke is thrilled about. Little does she know that Pembe, Cordelia's demon minion, is currently upstairs lurking in the bedroom. It was Pembe that the Duke spotted earlier, though the demon can't figure out how he saw him. Does he have some kind of magical sixth sense? Pembe has been waiting for the right moment to dispose of the bracelet, but if Rodin could see him, then things might get complicated. He needs to get rid of it now. He's just picking it up when Barden enters the room, being carried in by a butler. Fortunately, they're a little preoccupied with the drunk wizard, so Pembe is able to quickly hide before they spot him. Barden is pretty woozy, but he's aware enough to notice the open drawer beside his bed. He asks the butler to take the bracelet and repair it, restoring it to its original state. Pembe runs out from under the bed in a panic. He's hoping to grab it from the butler, but suddenly Yvonne appears, asking him to prepare a guest room for the Duke. When the man himself appears, it looks for a moment like he could see Pembe, but then he looks away, following Yvonne to the guest room instead. Is it because he's drunk or something? Maybe he can only sense the demon, not see him. Yvonne just went to get some water, but when she came back, Rodin was already asleep. I mean, he has been drinking the entire night. Like a crazy fangirl, she can't stop staring at how pretty he is while he sleeps. And this is the guy who thinks she has no interest? Yeah, right. While adoring his gorgeous face, Yvonne's hair brushes his nose. Luckily, he doesn't wake up, but after literally slapping some sense into herself, she decides to let him sleep. If she still wants to confess, then she can do it in the morning. Just as she's leaving, he wakes up, reaching out to her and asking why she's leaving. Oh my gosh, this man. Is it just me or is everyone else weak for him too? He takes her hand gently, making her freak out a little. Blushing bright red, she tells him to get some rest since he must be tired. The Duke isn't hearing any of it. He insists he's waiting for her and he wasn't tired. Oh no, does that mean he was awake the whole time? That's awkward. Flustered, she practically forces him to lie back down, promising to tell her story quickly so he can sleep soon. Firstly, she wants to explain that comment about the bracelet. It wasn't because she didn't like it, but because she desperately needs the magic stone it came with. Naturally, the Duke is curious, but she can't tell him why just yet. She asks him to trust that she has a reason and apologizes for wanting to tamper with the bracelet. It was a gift, so no matter how badly she needed it, she feels bad for nearly destroying it. After hearing all of that, Rodin isn't mad. I think at this point, she could probably break his leg and he would still forgive her. He offers to find more magic stones for her, but Yvonne is determined to save up and do it herself. Such girl boss energy. Yvonne leaves him to sleep, relieved to have cleared up their misunderstanding. But after being only inches away from him, I'm not sure she'll be getting much sleep herself tonight. Rodin is no better. They're totally bewitched. I wish they could just get together already. The next morning, Carol is back and bright as ever, totally unfazed by the fact that she nearly had her ears blown off yesterday. Yvonne is still kind of shocked the whole day wasn't a dream. Rodin left early in the morning without much explanation, which is a little disappointing, but there's no time to long for her handsome duke. It's time to find out why the heck those earrings suddenly decided to detonate. She returns to Yvonne's journal and finds the entry about the magical bomb earrings. Luckily, she wrote about them in great detail, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out what went wrong. While she's reading, Carol returns to announce the arrival of Udel and her sister, Lyanna. What perfect timing. At first glance, Yvonne is surprised to see the elder sister covered up on such a hot day. As the girl enters, the servants start to chatter about Lyanna. There are rumors that she has a horrible skin disease, which might be why she dresses that way. She's even wearing a mask. Barding catches them on the stairs, surprised to find unexpected visitors in the house. Udel bows to him and politely introduces her sister, announcing that they were invited by the princess. Maybe it's because he's hungover, but Bardin is kind of rude about the whole mask thing. Lyanna steps in before her sister can make any kind of excuses. She takes off the mask, revealing that the rumors were true. Bardin is so shocked by her appearance that he struggles to respond. Dude, this guy is in line to be a duke. He should act like one. Udel is very protective of her sister and announces that they're hoping to find a cure for her. A bit embarrassed, Bardin lets him carry on to meet Yvonne. While Udel feels bad, Lyanna is used to people reacting that way. Her condition was part of the reason she was not allowed to take over the household title. Even now, it's hard not to slip back into memories of the day they were kicked out. When she meets Yvonne, Lyanna takes off her mask again, not wanting to greet the princess without showing her true face. Luckily, the princess doesn't have the same reaction as her brother. She's only surprised for a moment before they get down to business. Ordering Udel to run and find a doctor, she beckons Lyanna closer so that they can discuss the details of their exchange. Yvonne wants Lyanna as her secretary and also as a subject for testing the Fountain of the Sun and its properties. She's drawn up a contract and everything and offers to pay a generous salary and provide a doctor until Lyanna is cured. It's a good deal, but Lyanna can't understand why Yvonne is making it since it doesn't benefit her much. The princess assures her this is not an act of charity. She really does need a secretary, and they'll be helping each other. Once Lyanna signs the contract, they give her a full medical checkup. The doctor can't tell what her disease is exactly, so they decide to give the Fountain of the Sun a try. If it doesn't work, he'll come again and they can start from square one. They pour the lotion into a bowl and start applying it with damp towels. Lyanna recognizes the smell and asks if this is definitely Fountain of the Sun. Carol is convinced, but since this was a present from Cordelia, Yvonne is immediately suspicious. As it turns out, Lyanna drinks nutritional supplements that are supposed to relieve her itching. She's been taking them for a long time. In a private conversation, Carol tells Yvonne that the man who gave them to Lyanna was from the Cardin family, a house the Roganils have served for a long time. The name rings a bell, and suddenly Yvonne remembers. The Cardins are the Empress's family. Giselle Cardin Burbent is known as an affectionate and charitable ruler who has taken a strong role in government ever since the Emperor began to decline. She is famous for having an excellent character, since she even adopted the son of a concubine when all the other heirs passed away. Everyone respects and loves her, including her son. We get to see a snippet of their relationship, which I have to say is kind of creepy. Adrian is weirdly obsessed with his mother, and she's obsessed with him right back. But from all angles, she seems like a perfectly nice lady, even if she is a bit weird. So could she somehow be involved with Lyanna's downfall? Did someone in her family purposefully give her nutritional supplements that might have worsened her condition? It's hard to tell. There are so many missing pieces that Yvonne can't see the puzzle. Carol confirms that the current Viscount Roganel, Lyanna and Udel's cousin, is a lazy man with a bad character. Carol also suspects the same thing as Yvonne. that somehow the Viscount managed to cause Lyanna's condition to deteriorate, thus costing her the title of Viscountess. But then how did he do it? And why the heck is the Carden family involved? Yvonne asks Carol to secretly acquire information about who gave Lyanna the supplements. And she happens to be just the right person. All this time, Carol has actually been the niece of the leader of the Information Guild. Wait, what? So what the heck is she doing as a maid? Yvonne had no idea. Obviously, Carol is pretty intense for a maid, so she knew she wasn't just some normal girl. But a relationship with the infamous Information Guild is just too perfect. How did she not know this whole time? In that case, Yvonne asks her to also do a little digging into the Fountain of the Sun lotion. While she's busy handling the info, Carol suggests Udell step in as second maid. And that might end up being convenient, since Lyanna will also be staying in the mansion as her new secretary. That way, the sisters can share a room. A few hours later, Udell visits Yvonne's room with an uncomfortable Lyanna trailing behind. She's not used to wearing clothes that don't cover her skin, but Yvonne seems much happier this way. After all, why should she have to hide? It doesn't bother Yvonne one bit. Since she's just become her secretary, Lyanna should be treated with respect from now on. So if anyone in the estate starts whispering about her condition, Yvonne orders her to report it directly to her, immediately. That's right, no one messes with her people. She introduces Mrs. Mona, the head maid who she'll be working closely with from now on. She also tells Udell the news, that she'll be working exclusively as Yvonne's personal maid. They can make it official and get them moved in right away. It probably won't surprise you that the sisters are delighted to be living together. Udell is excited to work hard and prove herself in her new position, and Lyanna just looks happy to see her smile. Now, not only does Yvonne have 3 new characters to use to her advantage, she also has friends to share her secrets with. It's so different from her previous life where she couldn't ask for help and had no one by her side. Maybe she has more in common with Yvonne than she realized. They've both spent most of their lives alone and have a strong sense of pride. Because of that pride, she wants to test Lyanna out. Despite this being her first day on the job, she already expects a lot from her new secretary. She did a little digging and found out Lyanna can speak 5 languages and studied extensively, so she's prepared a task to suit her skill level. Why do I get the feeling Yvonne would be an awful boss? But actually, the job is just marking the locations of recent monster attacks over the years, so it's really not too difficult. And Lyanna is glad to have something to do. It actually helps distract her from the discomfort of her condition. It's clear she's suffered a lot, but Yvonne doesn't want to keep acting like she's some poor puppy to be pitied, so she leaves, allowing her new secretary to quietly get on with her job. While all this has been going on, Barden has been suffering with the worst hangover of his life. He's lying in bed, trying to keep it together when a memory from his childhood pops into his head. When Yvonne and he were younger, he taught her to dance by walking on his toes. Baby Yvonne was exactly as adorable as you'd expect, and Barden was the perfect big brother. He was always kind, happy to play with his sister, and there to help when she needed it. As they grew up together, she took more of an interest in his magical abilities. He helped her learn the same skills, but before he knew it, she was succeeding too fast for him to keep up. I guess she's just been talented from the start. And not just with magic. She mastered everything she set her mind to, leading to a strong sense of competition between the siblings. Yvonne was always praised for being the youngest and the brightest, but she didn't care about all that. She couldn't understand why Barden kept his distance, but by the time they both grew up, it was too late to mend their bond. Back in the present, he awakes with a start. He almost has a heart attack when he notices Yvonne standing by his bed. She brought him a hangover cure, but instead of saying thank you, he asks why she did her hair like that. Are buns not popular in this universe? That's kind of weird. Although he's a little confused as to why she's visiting, Yvonne plays it off as genuine concern for her brother. Though it kind of also seems like she wanted to laugh at him a bit. Barden is surprised. He's been sick a lot since they were young, but never once did Yvonne come to visit. It's a bit awkward, but she plays it cool and apologizes, claiming she's got wiser as she matured. She's about to leave when he calls her back. Unable to meet her eyes, Barden admits that he often went to visit whenever she was sick. He just didn't have the courage to step inside. What is with this family? Why are they all so emotionally repressed? Yvonne doesn't really know how to respond to that. The last time she was ill was the royal banquet for the prince's birthday, which is coming up again soon. Yvonne seems surprised, and Barden apologizes for bringing up Adrian again. He assumes she won't be attending, what with the whole love triangle and public explosions. And he's right. She's over him now, so there's no reason to go to some stupid birthday party. She tells him to get some rest and playfully pokes him in the head. She must have been working out or something, because it sends Barden flying back against the pillows. Didn't Rodin also make a comment about her strength? Maybe losing her magical abilities has given her new physical ones. After leaving the room, she takes a quiet moment to herself. Barden said Yvonne was sick after going to the palace last year, but she can't remember anything about it. Something must have happened that day, something serious enough to keep her bedbound for a week. She just can't put her finger on it. The next day is a busy morning at the Yale's house. Aunt has been collecting materials and information on the TL's magic gems trade. See, ladies, that's how you spot a good man. She barely mentioned them once, and already he's knee-deep in research. And he's not stopping there. The crazy man has decided to completely monopolize the magic gems market within the Empire so that he can have sole control over the trade. Financially, it's a very poor decision, but this guy will do anything if it helps Yvonne. He's literally a walking green flag. A few days later, Carol still hasn't returned from her hunt for information. Yvonne is a little worried, but she's trying to keep herself distracted by staying busy with work. And there's still a lot to do. Lyanna's skin struggles have uncovered a political web that's difficult to detangle. Luckily, Udell is regularly bringing her sweet treats to keep her motivated, like the dutiful maid that she is. She's almost as obsessed with her mistress as Carol was, complimenting her nails and distracting her from work. Lyanna apologizes on her sister's behalf and announces that she's nearly finished with her first task. She actually enjoyed it too, doing something purposeful that will aid Yvonne in her search. They're like a mother-daughter duo. Yvonne is so proud to see her new prodigy excelling at her job, and likewise, Lyanna is happy to be working under such an intelligent mistress. They're a match made in heaven. While they're talking, Yvonne notices that some of Lyanna's markings have shrunk. Her hands are significantly less afflicted than they were before, and she confirms that this is the first time they've ever improved so much. Does that mean the Fountain of the Sun is the real deal? They waste no time, proceeding to check the rest of her body for improvements and finding that the patches have shrunk significantly. Udell is almost moved to tears. Not only does this give them hope, but it also means Lyanna can move around with much less pain than normal. She's already grateful to Yvonne just for this small improvement, but their mistress doesn't seem quite so relieved. She suddenly announces that she needs some time alone and heads off by herself, leaving the girls concerned. She feels guilty for not being happy about this situation. After all, that puts her business plan in serious jeopardy. If the Fountain of the Sun is so effective, then her own line of skincare won't stand a chance. Even if she sells it cheaper, she won't be able to beat the original product when it's already so famous for its properties. She's starting to get desperate. If she can't run a successful business herself, then maybe she'll be forced to open up to her family about the magical amnesia and beg them for the funds to buy enough magic gems to cure it. Oh, don't worry, girl. Your knight in shining armor is just around the corner, like always. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all have a rodent in our lives? While she's spiraling, Yvonne starts thinking about how grateful she is to have had his help. She never even asked him for it, but he was always one step ahead, always keeping an eye on her. Suddenly, re-energized, she calls Udell and orders her to prepare for an outing. Desperation drives her to the Yale's estate, but Yvonne's courage disappears as soon as they arrive. She's about to head back into the carriage when a butler appears at the gate, asking her identity. Udell doesn't miss a beat and requests immediately that Duke Yales be informed of the arrival of Princess Argenthoz. Well, there's no going back now. By the time they step inside, there's already an entire flock of servants waiting for her. It looks like everybody knows exactly who she is and what she means to the Duke. The head butler introduces herself while the other servants look on hopefully, delighted to hear that she came to visit Rodin. I guess they think this is a sign that she likes him back and not just because she needs a favor. He's currently in a meeting, but they refuse to let her leave. Udell is just as bad as the Yale staff, practically shoving Yvonne towards the eager maids who can't stop gossiping about how elegant she is, despite the rumors. There's only one person in the crowd who doesn't look pleased, a red-headed girl who is looking at the guest with some suspicion. While the head maid beckons Yvonne over to have some tea and biscuits, the red-headed maid storms off, determined to stop the infamous Yvon Argenthoz from getting close to her master. Uh-oh, looks like we've got a jealous servant girl. But it seems like this girl has some reasons of her own for hating Yvonne. Could this actually be someone from her character's past? Back when she was evil and cruel? Oblivious to her new hater, Yvonne is busy being pampered with a massive spread of cakes and delicacies to celebrate her first visit to the estate. Udell doesn't get why she's so surprised. Someone as gracious and beautiful as Yvonne deserves exactly this kind of treatment, according to her. She does, however, make her comment about her hair not quite being good enough to see the Duke. Before they can fix it, Floria, the housekeeper/head maid, introduces herself and informs the princess that she's the first guest they've had in quite some time. The Duke Yales isn't exactly the most sociable guy, so they're not used to hosting. Maybe that's the real reason they went so overboard. Yvonne still hasn't gotten used to being treated like a star everywhere she goes, especially with the kind of care the house staff are giving her. It's kind of making her wonder if there's something she doesn't know. Yeah girl, you're totally the only person who hasn't figured it out by now. But when Yvonne takes a bite of the specially selected desserts, her face clouds over. We don't get to find out what happened right away, as the scene switches to Prince Adrian's birthday banquet from last year. The Argenthoz princess walked in late, immediately surrounded by rumors. People suspected that she hadn't even been invited at all and had to buy her way in. The guests tucked into their specialty desserts, while Yvonne was given only stale biscuits and contaminated water. Ew! How childish can you be? We all know she had a temper, but even Yvonne didn't rise to a silly little prank like that. No, she had something much bigger in mind. She stood up suddenly, just in time for the whole palace to start shaking. While people ran around screaming about an earthquake, she stood there smiling like a psychopath. Back in the present moment, the new Yvonne is reminded of that memory by the unpleasant taste of this dessert. She's suddenly wondering if the staff are less kind than they seem. But the tea tastes fine, so she assumes it was just a mistake and acts like nothing happened. The butler returns soon after to announce that Rodin is too busy to meet her today. Yvonne is a little disappointed, but since she came unannounced, it's understandable. She prepares to go home, but Floria the maid is determined to have the lovebirds meet and asks her to wait just a little while longer. Suddenly, the red-headed maid runs in front of Yvonne, getting on her knees and asking if she disliked the dessert she prepared. Oh dear. I sense some serious drama. Yvonne is about to reassure her when the girl lifts her head, and suddenly she recognizes her as the maid who served the Empress that day at the banquet. While everyone was running to shelter, Yvonne took her frustrations out on this girl, pouring the contaminated water on her head. Confronted with a ghost from Yvonne's past, she goes pale. She tries not to react, explaining that she only took one bite because she wasn't hungry when she arrived. As she brushes past the girl, she quietly threatens to tell Rodin how she was treated and makes it clear that she remembers her. Atta girl, that will put her in her place. Meanwhile, upstairs in the meeting room, Rodin's inner circle had been going back and forth endlessly on how to corner the market of TL's gems for Yvonne. As soon as the butler finally gets through and announces that the princess herself has arrived, he jumps to his feet and tells them to take care of the rest, practically sprinting out the door. I love this man. He's a Class A simp, and he's not even ashamed of it. He's literally running through the corridors, but by the time he reaches Floria, it's too late. She tells him what happened, showing the Duke the dessert filled with rocks and sand that the princess was given. How the heck did that maid get away with that? Poor Floria blames herself, but there's no time to sit around pointing fingers. The Duke sprints towards the gate, leaping over them in one jump like some kind of anime protagonist, desperate to catch up with her at any cost. See, ladies, if a man isn't chasing you like this, then he is just not worth it. Meanwhile, Carol is in town, still hard at work collecting information for her mistress. She arrives at a shop front, and after giving a very ominous passcode, the door is opened by a rather fetching young man with green hair. Carol asks for her aunt, who is, well, let's just say you wouldn't want to mess with her. Seriously, how are they even related? As soon as her niece appears, this big scary pirate lady turns into a puppy, the same way Carol does when she sees Yvonne. They haven't seen each other in 5 years, ever since Carol joined the Argenthoz estate and started serving the princess. The leader of the Information Guild makes a mistake and refers to her as crazy, which Carol corrects right away. When they sit down, she asks for a favor. She wants information about the nutritional supplements Lyanna Roganil was given, and also about the Fountain of the Sun. The guild leader is very curious as to why Yvon Argenthoz is looking into this. but Carol gives her no further details. Her aunt promises to start searching right away, leaving her alone for a moment. We then see how Carol and Yvonne first met. When Carol was on some kind of mission, she ended up in danger. She might have even died if it wasn't for Yvonne showing up at the last possible second, saving them both and scaring away the thugs who were after her. And then, like some kind of master-level tsundere, she just walked away, warning Carol not to dally in the rain. Is anyone else starting to have a girl crush on Yvonne? Like, I can understand the hype. Returning to the present, Carol spots a picture frame face down on the table and turns it over. It's some kind of request for tracking a rhodea plantation. Isn't that the herb that Yvonne is cultivating for her own line of skincare? What do the guild have to do with that? Anyway, if you are wondering whether the Duke has caught up to Yvonne's carriage yet, the answer is no. But boy, is he trying. At the most perfect possible moment, the carriage runs over a stone, almost making the princess bump her head. Maybe because of the bump, or maybe because she didn't get to see the Duke, she's feeling a bit stupid. She was really looking forward to seeing him, and now she's going home empty-handed. The incident with the maid isn't helping either, as now Yvonne isn't sure whether she can trust the rest of his staff. No matter how hard she works on her image, people will always assume the worst about her. She's beginning to despair about how no one trusts or welcomes her when they catch the sound of someone calling her name at a distance. Oh, princess, the handsome savior you ordered has arrived. Udell hears it first and opens the window to find Rodin running at a full sprint to keep up with the carriage. They hastily pull over, and when she opens the door, he offers his hand to help her down, even though he's the one who just ran like 3 miles. He apologizes for being busy and tells her nothing is more important than a visit from the princess. My heart is melting. He came all this way just to apologize and ask for another chance to play host, properly this time. Of course, after hearing that, Yvonne can't say no. She explains that she came to repay all the favors he's been doing her, and hands him a box containing the pen from her desk. It's one of a kind, the only one in the world with this design. He's delighted, but after receiving the gift, he can't bear to just send her home. He formally invites her to dinner, which is kind of adorable since it's still the middle of the day. You can't blame him for being a little flustered. The poor boy just ran a half marathon. Out of nowhere, he takes her hand and places it on his chest, making her feel how fast his heart is racing. Our Yvonne is about to have a heart attack herself when the royal carriage pulls up, and out comes Prince Adrian. What the heck is he doing all the way out here? Has he been looking for her? Apparently, he has. He came all this way to personally give her an invitation and invite her to the birthday banquet as his partner. What? No way! Has he given up on Cordelia? When Adrian hands her the invitation with that blinding smile of his, she is overcome by thoughts and emotions which aren't her own. After all, this is Yvonne's dream. To be told that the prince wants her by his side, to be given a chance to win the crown prince over once and for all. But that's not her dream. That's the last thing our protagonist wants. She screams at him to stop, which comes as quite a shock to the prince. For the first time, she doesn't cower away or apologize. She looks at him with the rage and fury that Yvonne has been keeping inside all these years. She was never some arrogant noble girl. She was a lonely, wounded girl who the crown prince loved to toy with. So Yvonne tells him the truth, that he's selfish, that she suffered because of him. She grabs his invitation and rips it in half, outright refusing him. I don't know about you guys, but this is so satisfying. Finally, Adrian is being put in his place. Although, I'm a little scared about what the repercussions will be. The prince stares in shock at the pieces of the envelope lying on the ground. He doesn't seem to understand, so Yvonne makes it painfully clear for him. She won't be attending the banquet, so he'll just have to find another partner. Something shifts in Adrian, and suddenly his eyes go cold. One minute he says she's still as rude as ever, and the next he's back to that dazzling smile. Somehow he's able to excuse her actions as part of her unique personality, but he warns her that there will be no forgiveness if she dares to disrespect him again. That went better than expected. Actually, that's because he hasn't given up. He informs Yvonne that this is no ordinary birthday banquet. Everyone who is invited must attend, and there are no exceptions. As if that wasn't bad enough, he tells her that no one else would want Yvonne as their partner, so if she doesn't accept his offer, she'll be the laughingstock of the entire nobility. Right. I'm sorry, is that supposed to be romantic? Why is Adrian's only tactic to threaten her with humiliation all the time? He even goes so far as to say her father and brother would be very angry to hear that she went alone, so she has no choice but to accept. That's when Rodin steps in and informs him there's someone else who wants to be her partner. Like something out of a fairy tale, he extends his hand to Yvonne, making her heart pound at twice its normal speed. Part of that is panic. Is he just trying to save her from humiliation? Does he even have the power to go up against the prince like that? He's still waiting for her to take his hand when Adrian puts out his too, forcing her to make a decision right there and then. Oh, this is too much. I think I would just run away crying. More than anything, Yvonne is starting to doubt her ridiculous theory about Rodin working for the prince. Because of her painful past, she couldn't understand why anyone would approach her without an ulterior motive. But now she knows there's no way Rodin has been investigating her, so she takes his hand without hesitation and says it will be an honor to be his partner. The Duke kisses her hand, and suddenly, it's like they're the only two people in the whole world. At last, Yvonne seems to have realized that Rodin always wanted the best for her and had no intention other than to help. But clearly, Adrian isn't getting the message. He assumes Duke Yales hasn't heard the rumors about Yvonne's obsession for him and pulls her close to prove a point. But Rodin isn't bothered about all that. I mean, let's be honest. If rumors were going to be an issue, then he wouldn't have pursued her in the first place. Adrian asks one final time if she's sure about this, and Yvonne coldly confirms that this is exactly what she wants. She then excuses herself, allowing Rodin to accompany her to the carriage while Adrian silently fumes. Something tells me that both Yvonne and Rodin are going to pay for this later. Poor Udell, who has been waiting in the carriage this entire time, is desperate for an explanation. All she could tell from the window was Adrian causing trouble again. I mean, when is he not? She was delighted to see Yvonne and Rodin walking back arm in arm, and even happier to hear that they'll be attending the banquet together. She's already planning their matching outfits, and she's not the only one. When they are walking back to the carriage, the Duke mentioned how they don't have much time to coordinate designs, which made Yvonne a little flustered. She assumed he was just trying to help her out back there, but Rodin sets her straight. This wasn't some favor for a friend. It was a genuine proposal to attend the banquet as partners. Real partners. Yvonne is still blushing when she recounts the story to Udell. I just know some sparks are going to fly at that banquet. When Rodin returns to the Yales estate, he immediately goes looking for Aunt, who has been very busy investigating the kitchen staff. Things have been pretty intense since Yvonne's dessert incident. Now 3 final suspects are being individually interrogated, one of whom is our red-headed friend from earlier. Now that Rodin has returned, he can question them himself. He asks for a rundown of the incident, but before Aunt can explain, the young chef Bernard takes the blame. Because he was so focused on making sweets, he wasn't supervising the maids to make sure they handled the ingredients properly. But then the kitchen maid Nell swears there was no problem at her stage. The ingredient preparation was all going smoothly, but she didn't have enough workers, so she took the dough that Isabel gave her without checking the quality. Of course, Isabel claims the dough was made only yesterday and there was nothing wrong with it when she last checked. She arrogantly claims the issue must have been with the preparation, shifting the blame back to Nell. Ugh, would these guys stop fighting already? They're no better than children. Aunt has heard enough of this to make his head spin, so by now, he feels confident this was all just an accident. The Duke wants to believe them, because each of these workers have been with his family for quite some time. But he's not the kind of man to let something like this slide. If anyone can get to the bottom of this, it's him. He pulls out a gem known as an oath stone, which is worth a lot of money. He offers it to the staff, promising to be merciful to the one responsible if they step forward right now. Then, the stone glows red, proving he was lying. Obviously, at this point, the kitchen staff are all starting to sweat. Isabel looks especially concerned, and because the Duke doesn't miss a thing, he offers it to her first. After that, things cleared up pretty fast. The chef took a hefty pay cut, and Isabel was immediately fired. Actually, that seems pretty merciful considering what Rodin wanted to do to her. Aunt asks him about the stone, since he's never seen it before. Actually, it's not really a lie detector. It just changes color when the user injects it with mana. It was all a bluff. A very successful bluff, but a bluff nonetheless. Now that's sorted, they can turn their attention to more important matters, like his matching outfit with Yvonne. Unfortunately, that's not the only issue on the table. Aunt announces that a new kind of monster was fought and trapped on Yale's territory and urgently requires his attention. If he wants to make it there and back in time for the banquet, he needs to leave now, like right now. But Ant has one last thing to add. He's completed the research report on the third prince. After reading the details, he comes across a picture of the prince with his mother, who's been slowly losing her mind for years, if you remember. That's when he gives Rodin his next task, finding out how to save someone whose brain was forever altered by poison. Oh dear, this might be one problem he just can't fix. Yvonne finally returns to the Argenthoz mansion, still processing everything that just happened. The idea of having Rodin as her banquet partner makes her heart flutter. Unfortunately, Bestie is still going back and forth over whether he actually likes her or not. She kind of knows it, but because he hasn't actually confessed, part of her is still scared. Which actually makes sense. I think we've all been there before. But after all the signs he's given her, I think it's pretty dang obvious. Shaking the worries from her head, she assures herself that everything will be fine. However, when she steps inside her chamber, she finds Lyanna in a pretty bad state. She's panting, seems to be in a lot of pain, and her skin condition has worsened. The girls rush over to her, helping her into a chair while she starts to sweat profusely. It's clear that she's exhausted and probably pretty miserable. Now they know the Fountain of the Sun didn't really work after all. Is it bad that I kind of feel relieved? It's not like we had any doubt that Cordelia was the bad guy, but at least now there's proof. And this way, Yvonne is free to try her own skincare line using the Rhodia plant. While Udel is despairing on her sister's lap, the princess reminds her that their contract was based on Yvonne using Lyanna. And now she wants to take advantage of that to try one last cure. Lyanna seems to be a little taken aback. Yvonne isn't bothering to hide her true intentions, probably because she doesn't want to get her hopes up. But let's be honest, this isn't just about business anymore. At least, not for the princess. She really does want to help her secretary recover. For a moment, she's worried Lyanna will hate her, but Lyanna just tells her not to be so honest. She's already part of the gang, and she agreed to those terms in the first place. She, the princess, is welcome to use her as she pleases. It all sounds a little messed up if you ask me, but they seem happy. Over in the Imperial Palace, however, there's someone who is very unhappy indeed. Cordelia, whose every plan has failed so far, is having something of a temper tantrum, breaking everything in sight. I guess she heard about Adrian asking Yvonne to the banquet. You can understand why she'd be angry. This banquet is a chance to introduce the future crown princess to the nobility. Not taking Cordelia as his partner just makes her look like a spare part. She's starting to get desperate. At last, she considers the possibility of simply disposing of Yvonne, if you catch my meaning. But the risk is too high. There'd be no way to recover if she was found out. She doesn't want to, but it's time to ask for help, and there's only one person she can trust to give her another shot at the crown. Cordelia's first ever memory is from a cold winter's day. She was wandering through the streets, relying on the payment she received for healing the wounds of the old and weary. She didn't have much power, but that little spell earned her enough to keep going, day by day. Of course, that didn't mean things were going easy. One day, a thug threatened her with a knife and forced her to hand over a few petty coins she had acquired. Cordelia was so desperate that she refused, clinging onto what little she had. And instead of being stabbed, she looked up to find the thug being subdued by a member of the Imperial Guard. Standing above her, like some kind of angel, was the Empress, the first person to offer her a hand, and with it, a shot at a better life. From then on, the Empress took care of everything. Her clothes and food were paid for. She was brought to the Imperial Palace and treated as if she was one of the Empress's own daughters. As she grew up, they bonded like a true mother and daughter. But when the Empress located her real family, the foreign royals of a distant land, Cordelia didn't want to leave the palace. She felt like her only true family was the Empress, not her mother and father. Besides, as an illegitimate daughter, she wasn't treated very well by them anyway. They begrudgingly raised her, but with none of the kindness that the Empress had shown. So when a strange man showed up and offered her the chance to return to the Empire using dark magic, she accepted. But as you can probably imagine, that didn't work out the way she was hoping. After years in her care, Cordelia was just now betrayed by the Empress, who has planted a curse in her heart. She forbade her from telling anyone and warned her that if she tried to break the curse, she would suffer in agony. Well, that went from 0 to 100 real quick. What happened to the kind foster mother act she put on when they first met? Clearly, the Empress is not the woman we thought she was. While sitting in her throne room staring blankly into space like a true lunatic, her son enters answering her summons. She says she has a story to tell him, which immediately makes the prince nervous. I mean, can you blame him? If he knows anything about what his mother is capable of, he should already be running. The Empress assures him it's nothing big. She's just a little disappointed because he chose a partner for the banquet without asking for permission. Ah, so it seems Cordelia has already told on him. Or maybe she found out some other way. The Empress was very disturbed to hear that he offered the position to someone other than his official partner. It doesn't exactly help the family reputation. And as he and everyone else has guessed, the woman who accompanies him to this occasion will be officially named the Crown Princess. That's why Adrian finally decided to come clean about his feelings for Yvonne. Apparently, he's cared for her this entire time, he just didn't know it. Well, he has a funny way of showing it. Last time I checked, humiliation wasn't a love language. But even though he's kind of crazy, the prince still earnestly confesses his heart to his mother. Suddenly, she does a complete 180 and says if that's the case, she'll do her best to help him. Oh, I have a very bad feeling about this. She promises to use her power to bring the prince and Princess Argenthoz together. The first step is sending a special dress to Yvonne along with a golden invitation signed by Empress Giselle herself. That certainly would be hard to refuse. If Yvonne still says no, will she be cast out by society all over again? With a slightly creepy smile, she assures Adrian everything will work out. He just has to wait patiently. But as he's walking back to his room that night, the prince is still bothered by the issue of Duke Yales. He wants to get back at him for defying his wishes the other day, and stealing Yvonne from right under his nose is the perfect way to do it. I'm starting to wonder if this guy only really cares about competition. After all, he never wanted Yvonne until she was unavailable. He is suddenly brought out of his thoughts by the sight of Cordelia strolling miserably through the palace. The prince is such an awful man, he almost runs away to avoid the confrontation. He musters all his courage to give her a formal apology, but she just walks right past him. Oof. That's right, give him a taste of his own medicine. Wait, why am I suddenly supporting her? Well, that just makes things easier for Adrian. He walks off, not thinking twice about his ex-girlfriend, who returns to her room and slumps against the door, shaking. She had no idea what she was getting into all those years ago when she decided to trust Giselle. But if the Empress thinks she's quietly accepting defeat, then she's got another thing coming. Now Cordelia has nothing to lose, so she's determined to ruin everything she can. Meanwhile, the Duke made his way back to Yale's territory and successfully closed the investigation into the new monsters. He orders a draft of the report to be sent to the Imperial family and immediately heads back south. I'm telling you, when it comes to Yvonne, there's nothing this man won't do. But when he returns to the estate, he finds a horde of his people gathered by the gates. Since he hasn't come home in quite some time, news of his return spread quickly. Rodin's people are obsessed with him, so they came straight over to welcome him back. Bad news, guys. The Duke has got a date, and he needs to move fast if he's going to make it in time. Actually, on the topic of love, several of the townspeople have brought their daughters to offer up in marriage. Well, that makes sense. If I lived in his territory, I'd be throwing myself at him. As if that wasn't bad enough, there's a whole stack of marriage proposals awaiting him in his study as well. His childhood nanny is delighted to hear that things are going well with Princess Argenthoz. He has never been particularly romantic in the past, so when she finds out that they even held hands, that poor lady almost had a heart attack. But Rodin makes a mistake by confiding his worries about their relationship to her. The nanny gives him 3 perfect examples that might be proof of a young lady's feelings, but Yvonne hasn't exhibited any of them. Yeah, that's because she thought he was investigating her for most of their time. But the banquet will provide a perfect chance for them to get closer, so the Duke turns back to his main mission, which is returning to the capital as quickly as possible to arrange their matching outfits. He is the definition of a man written by a woman. Meanwhile, Yvonne has finally brought a sample of her Rhodia product to test on Lyanna. The only problem is, she can't find her. After searching pretty much the entire mansion, she decides to search outside. On her way out, Bardin catches her and asks where she's running off to. When she tells him Lyanna's missing, he announces that she's sleeping in his bed. I'm sorry, what? Did Bardin somehow seduce her? The same guy who gasped in horror when she took off her mask? I mean, I know he's cute, but I think she could do better than Yvonne's sleazy brother. Again, why on earth is Lyanna in his room? There must be a logical reason, right? Thankfully, the ever-practical secretary explains. Hours ago, while working diligently, she felt suffocated by the unbearable heat in her quarters. Let's face it, her numerous layers didn't help. Seeking air in the garden, a fresh wave of heat overwhelmed her and she fainted. She woke in Bardin's room, concluding he must have helped her. Oh, so it wasn't seduction. That's reassuring, but why his room? Recalling the moment she collapsed, nearby servants had rushed over only to hesitate, repelled by her skin condition. An awful way to treat someone in need. The person who intervened was indeed Barden, who scorned the servant's prejudice, called a doctor, and carried her unconscious form to safety. But didn't he almost vomit at the sight of her before? It doesn't add up. The misunderstanding clears when they talk. Barden explains he brought her to his cooler room and confesses that during their first meeting, he was severely hungover, not repulsed. This eases Lyanna's heart, knowing the Duchy siblings genuinely care. Yvonne then presents her own experimental treatment. Finally. But Lyanna is wary, having been burned by the failed Fountain of the Sun remedy. A reasonable caution. While Udella helps apply the sample, Yvonne privately doubts. If the Rhodia herb fails, she might have to rely on the true Yvonne's magic via the bracelet. The very gift from Rodin she treasures most. Her spiraling thoughts are shattered when Udella frantically calls from the bath. Lyanna's severe skin condition is completely gone. Upon taking a good look at Lyanna, the majority of her skin condition is gone. Not to mention, but to see her hidden beauty. Not that she wasn't pretty to start with. And she feels better with the new sample. Seeing this new development makes the sisters cry with happiness. However, a bird messenger that Carol deployed appeared with information Yvonne needs. Research on the nutritional supplement Lyanna took. And the truth is far more concerning as the disease. The supplement itself is the cause of the skin disease. It temporarily gives the user a softer skin, but the ingredient in it gradually weakens the skin, making it more prone to scarring from even the slightest scratch. The Carden family, who gave her the supplement, only did so to take the title of Rognall Mansion. To further prove the evidence, the papers reveal the current Viscount Arthur Rognall and the Carden family are conspiring with each other. And the sole person behind those scenes is none other than Lady Alentia, their aunt. Hey, isn't that lady working for the Empress? The two sisters are in disbelief, as Alentia is a supportive and kind aunt who took them in. All Lyanna can think of as suspicious is when Alentia suggested to the siblings and their mother to take a vacation at the hot springs to relieve their mourning, and then the rest is history. It adds up because Alentia has a hidden agenda to make Arthur Viscount as they were having an affair. A frustrated Udella can't help but storm off, unable to withstand their aunt's awful behavior any longer, and plans to charge in. And then what? It will only cost her life and reputation. But they simply can't just forget everything just because Lyanna is healed. So Yvonne suggests revenge for their wrongdoings. They should give them twice the trouble. Later that evening, Yvonne comes to the conclusion that Lyanna's condition is the same condition in the original story. But are Arthur and Alentia the cause of the outbreak? Even if she doesn't do this for business, why are they doing this? If she knows more, it'll allow her to do well in terms of business and aid her comrades. Should she ask Cordelia if she knows? Heck no! I don't trust that woman! And speaking of the devil, a demon climbs up her open windows to... A flash of lightning jolts Yvonne awake, face to face with the demon. Terrified, she hurls a pillow at it, making the creature yelp in pain. What strength you have, Yvonne! At that very moment, she feels magic, faint but unmistakable, coursing through her veins. It must be from the TLs she drank, channeled through the bracelet. The next day, she wakes refreshed and determined to interrogate the little monster hidden under the cloche. The creature visibly trembles, still fearing her after last night's inevitable one-side battle. When she lifts the lid, she finds not a monster, but what looks like a fluffy hamster. Are our eyes deceiving us? It looked very different yesterday. The hamster introduces itself as Pembe, a great familiar. Yvonne, ever bold, shows no fear. She holds Pembe firmly, maybe too firmly, with a sinister glare, demanding to know who sent it. Pembe claims it lost its memories when sent here, and the broken contract erased the rest. It was only seeking shelter. Right, because we'd believe a mysterious runt on the loose. It adds that something is blocking its return home. If only it could remember its owner. Not a chance, you rat. We readers know who it is. As for its appearance, this is its true form, usually concealed. That's it? Unconvinced, Yvonne tucks Pembe back under the lid. While pondering what to do with the familiar and the mysterious product name, Udella bursts in, pushing Yvonne out of her room. Waiting downstairs is a handsome, gravelly Ernest Rodin, who has missed her deeply. Rodin's purpose for today is to go out with Yvonne to have their matching outfits together. Ew! A real date? As they walk around town, the two discuss which boutique they should go to according to Yvonne's recommendations, while the people around them look at them, bewitched at how happy she seems to be. Despite how high-end and popular all her favorite boutiques are, Rodin suggests they visit everything because whatever she likes, he will like it as well. And what do you know? He actually rented the boutiques in advance so they could be alone together. What a rich green flag! He even asks for her opinion amongst the variety of options displayed for them. Yvonne's imaginative mind does the work for us in every suit she wants to see on Rodin. But one in a matching dress and suit in colored white particularly stands right, because as soon as they fit into them, the whole room centers around them, and all the two could see is just them. They look like they're getting married. Yet things took a turn when a royal attendant came in with the Empress's gift and invitation to her. Ugh, this imperial family needs to go down next, always ruining everything. The two soon sit in the carriage with a heavy heart with what the gift implies. Yvonne can't help but speak her thoughts out loud on how petty Adrian is, but if she declines the offer of an official invitation, it would mean bringing her family name into shambles. Sensing her predicament, Rodin expresses that he will find her a way out of this. Rumors about Yvonne, Rodin, and the Crown Prince chatter through the city, irritating Barden to no end, showing his overprotectiveness over his baby sis. He distrusts Rodin entirely, seeing him as a handsome heartbreaker with zero romance skills. But his biggest question is the Empress's sudden favor. He remembers when Yvonne once troubled Cordelia. The Empress showed clear disappointment and veiled anger, warning it couldn't happen again for the Empire's sake. So, why the sudden interest now? At the Duchy Mansion, Yvonne decides to be Adrian's banquet partner, much to the chagrin of Lord Kaiser and Barden. As quickly as she leaves with her uncomfortable choice, the two discuss how they didn't get the chance to tell her that what she had decided means she will be entitled as Crown Princess and how this situation is quite unnerving. What of Cordelia then if the imperial family takes an interest in Yvonne? Kaiser soon learns Yvonne had previously rejected the prince. This invitation is just a petty power play, but they're powerless against the Empress's will. Meanwhile, Rodin and Ant scour traditions for a legal way to decline the invitation. Rodin's persistence pays off when he finds a loophole. Woohoo! Thank goodness Yvonne won't have to dance with that narcissist! Before he can celebrate, the butler delivers troubling news. Letters confirm the TL's mines are paralyzed. Monsters infest the western mountain borders where TLs are found, making mining impossible. Rodin immediately plans to depart, vowing to clear the monsters and return in 5 days. Ant argues they bought enough TLs on the market already. But the Duke states it's not enough. He wants to give Yvonne every TL out there as a grand, undeniable gesture of his courtship. Finally, the day of the banquet arrives. In a vivid daydream, Yvonne wears a golden gown presented to a gloating Adrian, only to be dramatically swept away by Rodin. He argues with the prince and boldly slips a ring on her finger, announcing they're officially dating. My boy has no restraints. Of course, all that is just Ant's overactive imagination. Rewinding to reality, accepting the invitation doesn't mean playing along. Rodin has a secret plan that even Ant is unaware of, one that also pulls him into the Duke's own schemes. Elsewhere, Lyanna delivers an important map to Barden. He compliments the penmanship, only to realize she's the secretary. Pfft, he didn't recognize her without her scars and looking so much like Udella. Did Lyanna just blush after their interaction? Studying the map, Barden is stunned. It details monsters' behavior over the last century. Initially rare, sightings have increased near the borders, and the cycles of large-scale attacks have shortened dramatically. A key event stands out. 10 years ago, a massive monster surge caused widespread damage. The Empress personally led the relief efforts, aiding the nations, especially the hardest-hit Mare Kingdom. That's likely when she met a young Cordelia. In those 10 years, Cordelia lived a normal life, studying abroad with no significant achievements but her healing magic, and volunteering as a healer, eventually saving Adrian's life. A chilling pattern clicks for Barden. He must investigate this timeline further. While he finds a crucial lead, his sister feels trapped as Adrian's reluctant date. Her mood shifts when she notices her locked journal glowing faintly in her desk, pulsing with a strange familiar mana. Somehow, it unlocks. Now she must uncover what truly happened at that fateful banquet 2 years ago. Yvonne hits a hurdle. She can't decipher the jumbled handwriting in the journal entry. Sensing her struggle, the imprisoned demon Pembe offers a deal. Information in exchange for sweets. It could work. Just as she's about to open the treat jar, Carol returns. After a warm reunion, Yvonne learns of a minor crisis. Someone was investigating the bulk buyer of rhodia herbs, but Carol's family handled it discreetly, protecting Yvonne's identity. Furthermore, Carol made a breakthrough. She found a direct link between the Fountain of the Sun and the suspicious nutritional supplement. She even discovered the supplement's manufacturing office location. The Imperial Palace? Pembe, now munching happily, upholds their deal and reveals something critical. Only dark magicians can interact with demons, and dark magic resides within Yvonne herself. Returning to the diary, Pembe reads the scrawled message aloud. It describes a vast greenhouse and a massive watching eye. The writer fled upon discovering it, their mind clouding afterward. That's all Pembe can decipher from the messy script. But what is that large eye? A snake? This is getting super spooky. The tense moment shatters as Lyanna bursts in, holding a newspaper. The headline screams urgent, terrible news. A certain severe skin condition outbreak is spreading rapidly across the Empire. News spreads quickly. A member of the Information Guild visits Count Grati's home, where his wife and daughter Melody suffer from the skin disease. He presents Crybaby Pembe bath oil, Yvonne's product, advertising its curative power. This sparks the oil's explosive popularity. Soon, the super-secret Information Guild itself becomes an authorized vendor, acting on Carol's clever suggestion. How did it gain such trust after the Fountain of the Sun failed? Simple. Proof. Lady Melody demonstrates her now smooth, scar-free skin to other desperate women. Now that's advertisement at its finest. In a blink, Yvonne earns a staggering $50 billion. Lyanna, however, grows suspicious. How did Yvonne predict this outbreak and create a cure? Yvonne can't admit she knew from the original novel. Before she can fabricate an answer, Lyanna pieces it together herself. Yvonne must have suspected the Fountain of the Sun was ineffective and prepared its remedy to save everyone. It's a perfect lie backed by all the right facts. Even if profit was also a motive, everyone is happy and healing. With her new fortune, Yvonne plans her next move, buying TLs to finally cure her magical amnesia. Speaking of TLs, a certain dedicated duke has single-handedly cleared the monster-infested mines, ready to present every last gem to Yvonne. What a devoted simp you are, Rodin! With everything going on, Yvonne takes it upon herself to give off money and purchase anything for her personal maids now that she's rich. Girl, aren't you super rich to start with? She even goes to the top of the hose to inquire for some TLs herself, only to disappoint herself, finding out that every store selling those crystals is sold out to Rodin. The shop owner tells her it must be to repair the magic pillars. Learning this, Yvonne walks through town as the sky drizzles through the streets and camouflages her tears as she thinks that Rodin has betrayed her since he knows she needs TLs. Oh, Yvonne, if only you knew! And just when we think this love story is ending! Rodin appears with his horse, happy to see her after his 5-day absence, but oh no, Yvonne gives him the cold shoulder and flees. Not to mention in heels too, in the heavy rain. Yvonne just keeps running and running, and one of her heels just has to break in front of a staircase that leads down. She's going to fall off. In precise and swift movement, Rodin saves her from the fall, and she falls on top of him with her eyes looking straight at each other. At the Argent Rose Mansion, we are blessed with a view of a weary, half-dressed Rodin, haunted by the memory of Yvonne's tearful words. She never wants to see him again. He was heartbroken, but immediately shielded her from the rain with his cape. He later learned her anger stemmed from his thoughtlessly buying TLs without considering her feelings. After changing, Rodin confesses he only wants to give her everything for her happiness. He even reveals his plan to legally decline the Empress's invitation without repercussions. Staring at him, utterly flabbergasted, Yvonne accidentally voices her inner thoughts aloud, stunning him in return. Is she that oblivious to his feelings? Boy, you have no idea. Just as he's about to properly confess, the two silver-headed siblings arrive, ruining the long-awaited moment. With all four seated, Rodin explains the obscure law. Declining a royal invitation incurs a family penalty. It's unfair, but there's a loophole. The law was created by the third emperor, who married a commoner. After her death, he added a clause to prevent its abuse. Any invitation from the imperial family must be approved by the emperor or a direct kin to be valid. Otherwise, it's null. The current emperor is ill, so the only option is the third prince. However, invoking this means directly challenging the empress. Not wanting to cause more trouble, Yvonne offers to just accept the invitation. But Rodin firmly, passionately states he is not okay with that. Whoa, what a man! He knows exactly what he wants, and who he's fighting for. Rodin vows to always respect her wishes, but warns that accepting the invitation means becoming crown princess permanently. A shocked Yvonne internally screams at the absurd binding rule. Seeing her in tears, the three men are ready to pounce. Convince the reclusive third prince. Rodin hatches a new plan, but he'll need Carciel's help. Help arrives swiftly. The two appear in cloaks, surprising Prince Felix at his secluded home and delighting his ailing mother, who welcomes them in. Convincing Felix is no easy feat. He shouts in anger, but his resolve wavers when they mention a cure for his mother's illness, the very reason he sacrificed his life to isolation, a cure he believed didn't exist. Rodin states he has found it and holds the remedy now. He swears his life to the royal family if it fails. Meanwhile, Yvonne walks outside with Pembe to clear her head. She recalls everyone's worried faces, realizing how deeply they care. But she fears it won't last, as she isn't the real Yvonne. Suddenly, a dark spirit materializes, claiming to be the real Yvonne. It demands she return her body and her life. As this confrontation unfolds, Pembe spots a figure lurking behind them, a cloaked figure with a knife raised and ready to strike. Pembe uses their magic to stun the attacker. The hood falls back, revealing Cordelia? The hamster instantly recognizes her as his true master. I was kinda hoping you didn't. Yvonne realizes the truth. Cordelia is a dark magician who has been sending spies. She isn't the angelic protagonist from the novel at all. Cordelia coolly admits she came only to retrieve Pembe, believing Yvonne held him hostage, which is partly true. She even confesses she ordered Pembe to kill Yvonne, though the familiar remembers nothing. But she reveals something far more sinister. She suspects Yvonne knows she's a dark magician, using the skin disease to manipulate the Empire. Seizing the moment, Cordelia launches a powerful dark spell directly at Yvonne, who can only brace herself, the faces of her loved ones flashing in her mind. Yet the attack doesn't strike her. It must mean she's aiming for something else entirely. Elsewhere, in a place that feels like hell, the Empress stands before the Gate of Liberation in awe. She recites a grim incantation or verse about a key to unlock it and whatever waits inside. She recounts her plan to Alentia. At the banquet, they will frame Yvonne as a dark magician who implanted something in Adrian. Then Cordelia will then heal him and by killing Yvonne, secure her place as crown princess. If only Cordelia were to agree, but they soon discover the princess has vanished without a trace. Back with the two young women, Cordelia stuns Yvonne with a desperate request. Kill her. Whoa, that's a huge favor. Cordelia insists she must die. As a dark magician who attacked first, her death is justified. If Yvonne refuses, her family will be in grave danger. Huh? How? With no time to explain, Cordelia offers a twisted alternative. Kill Pembe instead, as their lives are linked. Oh no, not the poor runt! But when Yvonne squeezes Pembe, Cordelia doesn't die. The whole plea was an act. Pembe instantly binds Cordelia, and Yvonne begins her interrogation. Cordelia admits the dark magic attack a while ago was just an illusion of anxiety. The skin disease? A calculated step to make her crown princess. A plan suggested by Arthur to overcome her commoner status. She warns that if things go wrong, everyone faces catastrophe. Once the gate of liberation opens, the world will fall into chaos. Before she can explain further, a transport circle flares beneath her. In her final moments, Cordelia pleads again for Yvonne to kill her so that it can delay the gate's opening for decades. As the sun rises, Rodin and Carciel head home to report. But Rodin's priorities are clear. He orders Aunt to prepare everything for his proposal to Yvonne. He even instructs Carciel to arrange backup in case the Imperial family retaliates. Could this be the end of the Yells family? Or perhaps the beginning of the end for the entire world? Or maybe something good for our characters? At the Imperial Palace, an agitated Empress heads to Cordelia's room, already suspecting she escaped, only to see her right in her bedroom as if she'd just woken up. Secretly relieved by her presence, the Empress requests to talk at the greenhouse. I wonder what they would talk about. But Cordelia? It seems like her mind is elsewhere, remembering last night's events. Even though she told Yvonne what would happen to the world, this silver-haired woman has reasonable doubts and is sure that killing Cordelia is not the solution. With not much time left as the portal sucks Cordelia in, she throws her beaded bracelet to Yvonne, demanding that she take it to the greenhouse so she can see it for herself. That very next day, Yvonne is conflicted with Cordelia. The fact that she acts differently from Cordelia in the original novel. Is this a hidden part of the novel, or did things change because she regressed as the Yvonne of the novel? Before she could spiral into guilt, Pembe alerts her of someone else's presence, from a handsome Duke himself. Meanwhile, Carciel has just arrived home, explaining to Barden the details of last night's tale. Felix reluctantly agrees to them treating his mother, but if it fails, they can never return again. Using the potion provided by Rodin, Carciel uses his magic to heal the mistress, but he senses something else. The treatment is a success, of course, but it isn't just the poison making her ill. It felt like a dark magic curse trying to disrupt the treatment. What? There's no doubt what the Empress is doing. Since all three of them have no idea of a black magician within the Imperial Palace, all they could look into is the fact that the Empress gave him the poison that his mother drank. Just when Evelyn starts to wake up, she suddenly apologizes in tears for being unable to protect Felix. And then she went back to feeling sick again. However, that means there's hope. If Carciel treats her with more sessions, surely Evelyn will get better. Managing to coax Felix out of his shell to grant their request, he gives them one condition before anything else. He wants to meet Yvonne. Felix has no particular reason to meet Yvonne, but seeing as how he doesn't have much influence among the people and has a strained relationship with the Empress and Adrian, he would at least want to see the type of person he's risking his life for. A super valid reason, by the way. The plan is for Felix to sneak in to see Yvonne the day before the banquet without her actually knowing. Something about seeing her natural side, despite Rodin not liking this idea, which Carciel doesn't get why. Oh, Your Grace, you have a lot of things to learn. Elsewhere, at a beautiful scenery, Yvonne and Rodin walk side by side with the gentleman seeking something from her. He's asking about her state and Pembe with a somewhat dark intent, while Pembe recognizes Rodin as the figure watching over him back then. LOL. Pembe ends up having to act like a hamster while Yvonne thinks of a way to switch topics. Giving her the gist of the story of his interaction with the third prince, Yvonne is finally free from the clutches of Adrian and the Empress. Woohoo! Freedom! Which also means one thing, for them to be a pair. But hold on, Rodin asks her to close her eyes and follow him while holding hands inside the greenhouse. As soon as she opens her eyes upon permission, her jaw slackens. It was full of TLs. TLs he bought and refined just for her. And not only that, Rodin finally has the guts to confess to her, and with a ring too, to officially be together. The best chapter yet! Flustered and surprised with the confession, and maybe also too happy, Yvonne can't help but wonder why he would fall for her. Yvonne, you have such poor judgment of yourself. Although it may seem sudden, Rodin has a perfectly good alibi to how he fell for her. Yes, not why. As a boy, he was merely born for duty and responsibility, but he soon grows restless with that commitment, especially when he has to search for a wife himself. He yearns for a wife who doesn't desire his affection and time, and it is just supposed to be an arranged meeting with her, and he thought he could use that contact as an excuse to lay off other admirers, since Yvonne that time had just been heartbroken. However, as soon as he laid eyes on her, he couldn't help but be bewitched. Aside from her gorgeous face, Yvonne has a personality that he deems lovable. Yes, lovable. This leads him to question who on earth would call her a villainess. Throughout that first encounter, he has been sincere with her all the time despite the small misunderstandings. Maybe overwhelmed with this brand new information, Yvonne asks him to give her some time to come up with a response, which he's willing to respect, just as long as she keeps the ring. A huge green flag for a soon-to-be future hubby. Back in her room, feeling giddy with the feelings being two-sided, Yvonne also feels uncertain as she sees a glimpse of the real Yvonne back there. If she were to accept Rodin, what if the real Yvonne takes back her real body? That can't happen! With a strong determination to crush a TL with her bare hands and for the act of love, Yvonne decides to find out what had really happened to the real Yvonne. Regardless of the amount of TLs Yvonne has with her, sipping the concentrated tea didn't do the trick at all. In fact, her mana is the same. Perhaps it works better at night? While she waits for time to flow, Pembe approaches her rather nervously for a rat, asking why she hasn't interrogated them about what happened with Cordelia. To be honest, Yvonne doesn't necessarily see the tiny thing as a threat with how small they are, and the fact that Cordelia treats them like nothing but a pawn. Pembe admits they were originally here to destroy a bracelet owned by another Silverhead, whom she can deduce as Barden. The very bracelet she used to kill Callan the centipede, and the bracelet that contained secret information. That was quite a long time ago, too. All Pembe can remember is that they haven't destroyed it yet. As it was to be repaired, then everything is vague. With everything explained and maybe resolved, Yvonne asks the hamster the biggest question. What is their next plan? Totally not going to stay with Cordelia, right? Instead, Pembe tells her he wants to stay with her. Soon after, Yvonne finds herself being sent out by her father to the festival. A setup as discussed in secret by him and the third prince. With her lazy guard Rodin, of course, who tells her they must not get separated. That serves to be such a headache when heaps of people separate them both to get Adrian merch. Even more by a royal guard chasing a thief on the other side of the stalls. Hold on, that cloak person? Is that? Already bored out of her mind, Yvonne ends up having to take the alleyway to go to the fountain as told by her guard, but she ends up bumping into the thief. I mean, Felix in disguise. With guards on his track too, ay ay ay. So much for a first meeting. Before Felix can do something to escape further, Yvonne, for all goodness gracious, manhandles him herself to the ground. Yvonne, that's a prince! We see a little glimpse of Felix's strength training. For someone who looks like a stick, Felix works out a lot in hopes that one day he and his mother will escape the palace, and he'll be strong enough to hold off the guards. Uh-huh. He did hold off the guards, but he isn't strong enough to defeat the crushing power of Our Lady Yvonne. Just as the guards come closer, Felix accidentally presses something on the wall, and from there on out, the two end up falling into a large tunnel that leads to nowhere we know of. Slapping Felix awake, which she probably shouldn't have, they find themselves in a secret magic laboratory, and inside there's a prison where it is stained with blood. Somehow that triggers the bracelet Cordelia gave her to glow, and Yvonne sees herself in Cordelia's past memories as a child. Memories where she's told by Arthur to kill the other children to strengthen her dark magic. A gruesome detail that no child should ever experience. Fortunately, Felix pulls her in from that trance, but tells her the bad news. There's no exit but only from above. With nothing else to do, the two converse on why the guards were chasing him or what his life is like. Or maybe the fact that his face looks as detestable as Adrian's. However, neither has taken notice of the large beast ready to feast on them. Ending the small talk, the two quickly run away after finally noticing the beast chasing after them. If a monster like that is here, it just means one thing. This magic lab is owned by a dark magician. All they can do is find a way out by punching the wall and escape. which is a bad idea no matter how inhumane you are, Yvonne. However, when the beast jumps towards them and accidentally hits the wall, they make a terrible discovery. The destroyed wall leads to nothing. Everything here is made of magic. Felix has no choice but to use a teleportation spellstone, but it is only good for one person. Meanwhile, Yvonne is thinking of a distraction on how to beat the monster. Just as Felix makes use of the stone when the beast approaches them, Yvonne, with all her might, punches the life out of it, smothering it into a pulp. That was quite scary. Before they can rejoice after dealing with the monster, the whole place threatens to collapse. With not enough magic to make a portal, Felix decides to give her the stone and instructs her to ask for help from his mother as soon as possible so he can escape as well. With all her recklessness, Yvonne refuses to use it, even having to admit she wanted to use him as bait. It is far too late to use any spell as they're nearing the collapse until she remembers something from her memory. There's a passage behind that big painting. Changing the setting, Rodin is at his wit's end with his doubts and insecurity. His mind spirals that maybe he was a bit too hasty with his confession. Maybe too confident that perhaps Yvonne will accept his feelings. Don't worry, Your Grace, that confession was perfect. Rodin feels more insecure now that he thinks Felix is another rival aside from his brother Adrian. Just the imagination of the third prince meeting with Yvonne, he loathes and dreads it. Running for their lives, the magic lab just keeps falling into place. The situation becomes more dangerous when a large piece falls onto Felix. With only ample time, Felix tells Yvonne to leave him while he uses the stone. But somehow it doesn't work, and he finds himself dropped along with the collapsing laboratory. He can't help but envision the life he couldn't have. A life where he gets his revenge, treat his mother back to health, even escaping this hellhole. Could this be the end for him? This isn't the end, Felix! And magically, like a knight in shining armor, despite being a lady, Yvonne swoops in to save him using her awakened powers before they miss their chance to escape. They manage to exit the place with Felix feeling like a princess. I mean, prince at all with the sheer strength and magic Our Lady has. Safely landing not anywhere near the district and away from prying eyes, especially the guards, a flustered Felix stands up straight and decides to go home. Seeing the place outside his prison, he feels satisfied seeing the outside world. The two bid their farewells, with him using the stone, but Yvonne stills when he calls her by her title. She should have taken the opportunity to ask him how he knew of her. Oh well, whatever. You'll know him soon enough, Yvonne. Soon. The transportation magic now works as Felix arrives back at the Palace of the Deep Sea, even returning to his original hair color. He concludes today's meeting with Yvonne to be insightful, to say the least. He almost died if it wasn't for her, after all. However, day by day, he's been longing to escape the palace ever since his mother became ill. He may be a prince, but he lost every bit of his power. Even if he can work day and night to regain influence, it wouldn't serve its purpose as long as Empress Giselle is his biggest obstacle. He may have the strength, but she knows his weakness. Even so, all he wants is for them to live, and when he finally finds a place to escape, a new opportunity arises. With two dukes by his side, all he needs is for Yvonne to join his side. Speaking of Yvonne, the woman now feels frustrated waiting for Rodin at the fountain. Just as she's about to storm off and go home herself, Rodin swoops in, draping his coat around her shoulders in this chilly night. You're officially making me swoon too, Rod. Not to mention, he even feels jealous of the name of her escort knight. This, in return, makes Yvonne realize that all this time, Rodin has been feeling jealous of other men around her. Well, obviously, girl. You're so pretty and charming. Before the night could end with a misunderstanding, Yvonne asks him out to spend the remaining time of the festival with her. Finally, a date night! Rodin accepts it, of course. However, as soon as they blend in with the crowd, their hands soon detach. He ends up reeling in negative thoughts that maybe he is just another admirer she ropes in whenever she wants. Those thoughts soon disperse when Yvonne offers him a strawberry stick, and they have a small moment for themselves. And maybe an afterthought where he beats up all his potential rivals. Oh, Rod, don't let the green-eyed monster get you! A stall owner calls their attention to a round of archery where they can get everything if all targets are hit. Finding herself wanting a large teddy bear, Rodin wins the games in no time and makes the owner face bankruptcy. Delighted with their night together, Yvonne finally reassures Rodin that she doesn't have a sea of admirers, and even if she does, she can only welcome one person, aka Mr. Right Here and Right Now. Relief is all Rodin could feel as he is aware she is not that type of person, but due to this waiting and her attention being elsewhere, he can't help but feel restless. He will never give up, even if he is to be rejected, but he wishes she soon save him from this never-ending torment. Back in her room, Yvonne contemplates the situation. Her feelings run deep for the man, and she cherishes the family and friends she found in this world. But what of the real Yvonne? Not wasting any more time, she opens the journal using her powers and reads the entry from July 27th. Pessimistic thoughts of the real Yvonne fill the page of her unrequited love, strained relationships with family, and the achievements of her magic. Her yearning to end it all, to leave and start over. If only she had not entered the royal greenhouse favored by the Empress, she wouldn't have ended up looking like this. OMG, what happened to her? Entering the greenhouse, Yvonne remembers a time when she yearned to be here. A place where Adrian enjoys with his mother and other nobles. A place where she can be accepted. That desire no longer lingers as she stands tall in the greenhouse. Now all she wants is to leave. Yet she sees the Empress discussing with other nobles. Intending to leave, she stops upon hearing that Adrian will die once he takes part in the war. Realizing how insane the Empress is, she flees for her life when they sense her presence. Even when hit by the dark curse, Yvonne is able to escape back home. With no one to aid her, she ventures on her own to find solutions to cure herself. But the years pass by, and all she has done is delay its effects, and the Empress's plans have already progressed with Cordelia in the mix. Plans for eliminating Cordelia are in the works, but Yvonne's priority is to treat the curse. Because she finally found it. The side effects are unknown, a matter of life and death. With uncertainty coursing over her, she casts the spell on herself, knowing the outcome. Just as long as she breaks the curse, and if she were to still live, she will do anything to live happily after this. But that was her last entry. Our Yvonne sobs after learning the hard truth, that the real Yvonne vanished and she has been living the life she desperately wanted all this time. With her eyes red and puffy, Yvonne feels awful about what had occurred to the real Yvonne. Her past self can relate to the real Yvonne from having a life they didn't want. However, the biggest question is the spell she used to break the curse. We can't think about that now when Udella and Carol cater to her eyes and promise to make a pouch for the bracelet. She must be absolutely perfect for the ball. Well, not for the ball, but for Rodin. Although the ball is this evening, everyone is excited as they gather everything in her room to dress her up. If only it isn't the golden dress the Empress gave her meant to dance with the prince. Oh no, she didn't have anything to match Rodin at the banquet. What on earth is she going to do now? To wear it? To not attend? Or choose another partner? Wait, why another partner? How is Felix even an option? Consulting with Lord Carciel on the matter, a crucial letter from Rodin slips his mind. Yvonne must wear the gold dress for her safety, because if she will not wear it, it would mean challenging the imperial family. As for her partner, it will not be the crown prince, but rather the third prince. Yvonne can't help but be suspicious of this new development, as Carciel tells her that it is the third prince himself who suggested it in the first place. Coming to terms with this new arrangement and reassuring her father that she will always be his daughter, no matter how mature she's gotten, Yvonne decides to reply to Rodin herself, because now she is free from the guilt of it all. Meanwhile, Rodin feels suspicious of Felix's suggestions, but safety is always first, and he shall prioritize that for Yvonne. If she rejects the idea, he will have to deliver their matching outfits immediately, after he reads her letter. Back with Yvonne, Pembe explains to her why the artifact earrings triggered. It is because it needs more power, or the magic has shifted to someone else. In this case, the latter. Relieved with the discovery, Yvonne can take it with her without any worries. And now, it's time for the banquet. Adrian is absolutely outraged by the situation, and immediately the ballroom erupts into a fit of whispers. Breaking through the crowd, the Empress Giselle arrives, curious about the commotion. She demands that Felix explain himself. His answer is simple. The invitation the Empress sent Yvonne lacked the Emperor's seal, which technically meant that it held zero legal weight. Since Yvonne wasn't obligated to attend as Adrian's partner, he took it upon himself to invite her, this time with a proper invitation. That's checkmate, Giselle. The Empress glares at Felix warily, amused that he would dare to challenge her so boldly. She feigns goodwill, wondering what his intentions are. But what she doesn't expect is for Yvonne to confess to being the mastermind of such a plan. Before everyone, Yvonne puts on a show, bringing out the hidden actress within her. Everyone knows that Yvonne had been the object of Adrian's constant rejection for years now, so when she received an invitation from the Empress, she could only guess that it was meant to console her for her heartache. But alas, the missing seal invalidated her invitation. Desperate, she sought out Felix, begging him to make her his partner just so she could attend the banquet out of respect for the Empress's thoughtfulness. And just like that, the Empress is now in the hot seats. Smiling, the Empress reaches out for Yvonne's hand, giving her and Felix her blessing. But the malice in her eyes says otherwise. Suddenly, an excruciating pain shoots through Yvonne. Contact with the Empress triggers Yvonne, causing past memories to replay like a fresh happening. Turns out, Giselle has tried to kill her before. A chilling voice rasps in her head, warning her to flee. Even as the Empress leaves, her body still recognizes danger, making her tremble like there's no tomorrow. Concerned, Felix slides a hand behind her waist, steadying her. However, the pain only worsens and suddenly everything blurs into nothingness. When she wakes, she finds herself pressed against someone's chest. You may think it's Felix, but nope, it's Rodin. His hand pressing her closer, his lips inches away from hers. Ugh, how the world is testing her resolve. Still, Yvonne tries her best to calm her thumping heart. She's so flustered and red that she hides behind Felix. A wrong move, really, because now she's just dragged Felix into trouble. Rodin's face darkens as he marches straight to Felix, demanding an explanation why Yvonne had to step in for him earlier. He's about to answer when Yvonne intervenes, explaining that she acted on her own. Rodin's gut twists with jealousy. But unlike Rodin, who's suffering, Yvonne finds this quite entertaining. Who knew a jealous Rodin could be so adorable? Just when things start to calm down, Lady Melody Grati stirs the crowd, accusing Yvonne of being a shameless seductress. Heck, it might even be a harem with the way she has multiple men with her. Exhaling, Yvonne lets it slide. But well, Rodin isn't as generous. He confronts Lady Grati head-on. Apparently, Lady Grati is all bite and no bark. All she does is cower and stutter before Rodin. From afar, Yvonne might as well just swoon. Not gonna lie, Rodin being the only one who's ever stood up for her just makes him way more lovable. Beside her, Felix shifts, a teasing grin on his face. Although Yvonne claims that she and Rodin are only friends, he playfully jests with her, claiming to know a budding romance when he sees one. Right you are, they're only friends. For now. I guess even Felix is rooting for our ship. A few feet away, the confrontation escalates into a heated argument. And this time, Lady Grati's mother, Countess Grati, has stepped in. She reminds Rodin that her daughter's words aren't baseless and unfounded. After all, Yvonne's bad reputation greatly precedes her. And it doesn't help that Yvonne looks like she's in for the kill. Countess Grati's interference only adds fuel to Rodin's fire. He warns her that she's crossing the line, daring to challenge not just Yvonne, but also her standing in high society. A mere countess like her dares to insult the daughter of a duke? Looks like someone needs a reality check. He's so hellbent on defending Yvonne's name that he's even ready to take this to court. Finally, the Grati family backs off and Rodin, looking like a proud golden retriever, returns to Yvonne's side. Leaning in close, he promises to deal with House Grati accordingly, making Yvonne both flustered and worried. Just then, the banquet begins, and although he hates it, he needs to give Yvonne back to Felix. But not before planting a kiss on her hand. Yvonne feels her heart racing uncontrollably even as Rodin leaves. The sensation of his kiss lingers on her hand and thoughts. She doesn't even notice Felix talking to her. Seeing his concerned expression, Yvonne reassures him that she's fine. Yeah, sure, as if you didn't go blank a few minutes ago. Relieved, Felix then leads Yvonne away from the crowd, taking their place among the others. A shabby corner on the outskirts of the ballroom? Oh, come on, Felix, you can do better than that. Ever the tease, Felix jokes around with Yvonne, but his toothy grin makes her pause. Where has she seen that smile before? It then hits her. Felix and the mysterious thief bear a striking resemblance. Felix smirks, confirming her suspicions, much to Yvonne's shock. You see, he wanted to meet her in all her authenticity, to see the real Yvonne for who she is. Yvonne pouts, slightly feeling cheated. Huffing, she then asks for Felix to be honest with her moving forward. Their conversation is cut short when the royal family makes their entrance, albeit only briefly due to the Emperor's health. Is it me, or does the Emperor look like he could kick the bucket any minute? Kickstarting the festivities, Felix extends a hand, inviting Yvonne to dance with him. Elsewhere, Rodin pushes through a sea of women vying for his attention. Too bad for them, he already has eyes for someone else. Speaking of, where the heck is Yvonne? She isn't with Felix anymore. So, apparently, Yvonne declined Felix's offer to dance. It didn't seem right for her to dance with him when they both knew her heart already belonged to someone else. Without another word, she then set off, determined to look for Rodin. The loyalty of this girl. But still, the fact that she never made it to Rodin is concerning. Both men immediately spring into action. Operation Look for Yvonne officially commences. But before they part ways, Rodin has a question he's been itching to ask Felix. He wants to know if Felix harbors feelings for Yvonne. Elsewhere, Yvonne catches a familiar face leaving the banquet. She guesses that dancing with Rodin will have to wait, because right now, she's got a lady to chase. Lady Alentia. Speeding towards the exit, Lady Alentia's body trembles. She totally flunked the Empress's plan of getting rid of Yvonne tonight. Unexpectedly, someone else greets her. Her very prey, Yvonne. But she's more of a prey herself, though, because within seconds she's wrapped around Yvonne's finger. All it takes is acknowledging her as Viscount Cardin's partner, and suddenly they're like great friends. I guess flattery always works on a mistress like her. As they converse, Yvonne then dangles the bait, sharing there are rumors that the famous Fountain of the Sun could be acquired at the palace. A statement that nearly knocks all the air out of Lady Alentia. Almost immediately, she denies such ridiculous rumors, unaware that she's fallen right into Yvonne's trap. While Yvonne proceeds to do some hero business, our male lead deals with their own serious matters, addressing a potential love rivalry. To put it simply, Felix declines having any feelings for Yvonne. Him saying that while a whole slideshow of Yvonne's smile and their memories together plays in his head tells me everything I need to know. Rodin loosens up at his answer. Apologizing, he then excuses himself to look for Yvonne, oblivious of the civil war waging between Felix's mind and heart. Elsewhere, Lady Alentia breaks away from Yvonne's company, her mind seething at the rumor about the Fountain of the Sun being linked to the palace. Panicking and desperate, she calls out to Arthur, who materializes by her side in no time. Mischievous as ever, he teases Alentia, but she hardly has time for his flirty games. Pointing to a nearby lake, she tells him everything that happened at the banquet. If people find out that the Fountain of the Sun is just some dirty lake water at the Imperial Palace, and the cause of the skin disease outbreak, they're totally done for. Without warning, Arthur then unleashes his black magic, draining the lake in seconds. No lake, no proof, right? It's a good thing that Yvonne is one step ahead of them. From afar, she secretly recorded everything on a magical device. Unfortunately, she isn't as sneaky as she thinks because she accidentally blows her cover when Lady Alentia suggests an unexpected move of wooing her to join their side. The sound of branches crunching alerts Lady Alentia and Arthur, prompting the latter to hide. Just when Yvonne thinks she's been caught, somebody else steps out of the shadows. It's Barden. Tipsy and a bit woozy, he smiles, engaging with Lady Alentia. Not too long ago, he went for a walk and got lost, so seeing a familiar face out in the garden is definitely a relief for him. Yvonne watches all of this with her mouth agape. She's sure Barden saw her in the bushes. Could it be that he's purposely covering for her? Nah, he's just blind. Duh, of course he's covering for you! Like a true gentleman, Barden accompanies Lady Alentia back to the banquet hall, conversing with her lightheartedly the entire time. Just like that, Barden has just saved his little sister's not-so-sneaky butt from becoming dead meat. With the coast finally clear, Yvonne exhales a sigh of relief. That was a close one. All that adrenaline was worth it, though, because now she has solid evidence to put the Cardins behind bars. However, convicting the Empress is a different story. If only she could prove that Giselle is a dark magician. Surely that would urge the Emperor to eliminate them, right? If it's evidence she needs, there's only one place to go. The Empress's glass house. Elsewhere, Adrian sulks, irritated that he lost Yvonne's affection. However, a disturbing sight snaps him out of his thoughts. Cordelia is repeatedly slamming her head against a wall. Adrian rushes to stop Cordelia, his movements urgent and concerned. Jumping from the balcony and landing with ease has got to be the sexiest thing he's done in the last 70 chapters. Unable to take it, Adrian grabs Cordelia, forcibly shaking some sense into her. When she finally comes to, she has no recollection of anything that happened, much to Adrian's confusion. The blood dripping from her forehead and the blood on the wall, he explains that was her repeatedly banging her head into the wall. It takes Cordelia a minute to process everything, but she doesn't question him. Meeting his gaze, she thanks him for waking her up from a trance. However, this only confuses Adrian more. A trance? He almost finds it ridiculous to believe that she was asleep the whole time she did that. She doesn't let his stingy attitude slide any longer. Cutting and sharp, her words hit him like a knife. There was a time when she too woke him up from a trance from his mother's brainwashing, and it would do him well to remember. Boy, are you going to have the biggest wake-up call when you realize the Empress has been brainwashing you the entire time. Back at the glass house, Cordelia's bracelet flickers to life in Yvonne's hold, revealing Cordelia's suffering at the hands of the Empress. It turns out Giselle's true intentions with Cordelia is to have her open the gates of liberty and release the great demon from hell. This absolutely horrifies Yvonne. Just as Cordelia's memories stop playing, Yvonne finds her own lost memories from 2 years ago returning. Finally, we get to see what happened before her amnesia. Before Arthur and Alentia, the Empress reveals the key to realizing her wicked scheme. You see, both Adrian and Cordelia represent the key of the sun and moon, respectively, and only when they become corrupted can the gate of liberation be opened. Oh, so that's why Giselle raised Adrian herself and made the Cardins turn Cordelia into a dark magician. The devil works hard, but Giselle works harder for sure. But opening hell isn't even the worst of Giselle's plans. By ordering Arthur and the Dark Magicians to destroy the monster sealing stones and having Alentia release a terrible disease, she plans to let monsters roam free and lay waste to the land, turning it into a living hell. Yvonne accidentally overheard all this, which resulted in the Empress cursing her. For years, she searched for a way to break free of the curse's hold, until one day she found the right spell. The only problem is that the spell had never been done before. She needed to purify her soul as a whole, which required it to be sent to a different world and returned once more. Even though she was unsure of the existence of another world, or if the spell was possible at all, Yvonne performed the unthinkable, betting her life on the hope that her soul would transcend worlds and return in due time to ultimately set her free from the Empress's curse. And just as she hoped, her soul did return. All this time, the woman who inhabited Yvonne's body had felt a strong connection to Yvonne, but inhabiting her body came with the guilt of taking the original Yvonne's life. So to learn that all along she's the original Yvonne, she can't help but cry tears of joy. Okay, so long story short, Yvonne sets her soul free. Her soul travels to the modern day where she lives as a modern day woman. Modern day woman gets hit by a truck, which then ends her life. The soul is eventually set free again and it travels back to the original world, returning to Yvonne and thus completing the purification spell. Phew! Now let's move on, shall we? Snapping herself back to reality, Yvonne scoffs. After everything she's lived through, she's definitely not letting Giselle turn the world into her little fiery playground. Determined, she searches every inch of the glass house, hoping to find anything to prove that Giselle's a dark magician. Just as she roams the gazebo, she hears an eerie voice whispering ill intent through the shadows. With lightning speed, she turns around, stopping a serpent from attacking her mid-air. As Yvonne tightens her grip, the serpent writhes in pain, calling out for her majesty. Its master. Only then does Yvonne realize that the serpent must be Giselle's. But caught off guard, Yvonne accidentally loosens her hold and it wriggles free, sinking its fangs into her flesh. Meanwhile, at the palace grounds, Rodin runs into Adrian, who's as cocky as ever. When Adrian dares to insult him and Yvonne, Rodin dares to put him in his place, challenging him to a duel. Coiling with anger, Adrian channels his powers, imbuing his sword with it. He then charges straight at Rodin, but just as their swords clank, the two halt completely. Something's off. The energy surrounding the palace isn't that of Swordmasters fighting, but rather it's the wavelength of mana. Rodin's calm composure slips. The mana he senses is unmistakable. It's definitely Yvonne's. Worried, he immediately bolts, tracking down its source. Snickering, Adrian trails after him. He's about to stop Rodin from entering the Empress's glass house when he realizes that there's something strange going on. The entire place is engulfed in the energy of a familiar. At the center of all the chaos, the two find Yvonne and a serpent clashing. She manages to overpower the serpent, but it's too late. Her body gives up. Adrian offers to call a doctor, but Rodin can't wait. Any longer and Yvonne will die. Without thinking twice, he then uses his own mouth to draw the poison out. So where can I sign up for the next serpent bites? Gathering Yvonne in his arms, Rodin has one request for Adrian. He begs him to let them leave the scene. Nobody must ever know that Yvonne was there. Adrian's eyes grow wide at his request. He knows he shouldn't allow it, but he does. He may be ignorant, but he isn't a fool. Cordelia and Yvonne falling victim to an unknown power in a single night can't be a coincidence. Just then, a mysterious object catches his attention. Wait a minute! Isn't that the bracelet Cordelia gave Yvonne? Inside the palace, the Emperor's health gets worse, with Giselle continuously using her brainwashing spell on him. But just as she's about to discard the Emperor for good, her own body fails her. Blood spews uncontrollably from her mouth, her heart pounding loudly in her chest. This can only mean that her familiar, Emoko, has perished. Looking like a corpse herself, Giselle drags herself out of the palace. The maids are shocked by the sight of her, but she can't be bothered by her looks anymore. Her only concern is finding out who eliminated her familiar. Making her way to the glass house, it's Adrian she spots exiting it. Oh no. I know we hate him, but I don't want Giselle going after him just because she thinks he killed Emoko. Away from all the chaos, Rodin runs for his and Yvonne's lives. He needs to escape the palace immediately. Running as fast as his feet can take him, he can only recall when Duke Argenthoz and Barden first asked him to investigate the Empress. It started with her family, House Carden, refusing to repair the broken monster sealing stones, followed by accounts of strange activities within the palace and empire. Upon looking into the Empress, they discovered that she and a few noble families were involved in dark magic. Panting, he continues to soldier on. Had he not left Yvonne, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Helpless, he can only hope that she holds on a bit longer. In a serene place lined with columns, Yvonne finds herself seemingly trapped. This isn't good. The only time I see places like this is when the main character is on the brink of death. This usually is a place between life and the afterlife. She recalls the events leading up to her falling unconscious, but no matter how hard she tries to escape and look for Rodin, it's useless. She's trapped in her own consciousness. All of a sudden, the scene shifts. Her mind conjures up past memories, reliving them like a fresh event. The memories themselves are unpleasant, each scene reliving moments that carry deep pain and misunderstanding. From arguments with her father to Barden villainizing her, it all replays before her. She watches each scene with horror, pleading with Yvonne, pleading with herself to explain how she feels and to tell them it was just a misunderstanding. Breathless, she chases after her past self, hoping to convince her to give everyone and herself another chance. But it's futile. Right before her, her past self deteriorates, slowly dying and believing she's alone and unloved until the very end. Yvonne can only plead and cry as her past self fades. She doesn't want to live like her past anymore. This isn't how she wants to leave everything and everyone. As her form fades, her resolve to live lingers. And just like that, Yvonne finally wakes up. Her lids flutter awake, her eyes scanning the familiar surroundings. She's in her lab, but how? Beside her, Pembe shifts, directing her gaze to a sleeping figure in the far corner. Turns out Rodin had brought her back just in time before the poison killed her. Yet, looking at Rodin, Yvonne's face pales. Don't tell me he's the one who got poisoned! So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!